Okay, hello everyone. So 1 second, I'm just gonna test out the audio. We had quite a hectic morning over here trying to figure everything out. Okay, hello everyone. Wow, that sounds way better than I was expecting.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
But do you want me to talk or no?
Yeah,
So you can hear me?
just jumble for just a second so I can hear. Wait, actually, wait. Wait.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But do you want me to talk or no?
Wow, that was surprising.
It's live. Like I just
Okay.
said.
Well, okay, let's get into this then. Hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart online, and I am bringing up one of my biggest enemies in the world, Alex Dos Diaz. We have a very clear disdain for one another, and we decided to battle it out on one of these streams that Alex didn't even know was going to be in battle type scenario, but we're going to have fun with it today. So if you can't tell, we're going to be kind of silly. We're going to get into some fun discussions, and more importantly, we're going to draw. So if you guys want to draw alongside us, the way that this is going to work, obviously this is a very new format for what I want to do with the streams in terms of like art battling, but I love the idea of bringing in some of my art crew and then having a prompt where we each kind of take our own spin and interpretation of it in an hour and a half time frame, or like hour and a half, 2 hours. And I think what I want to do is if you guys want to join alongside whatever prompt we decide to go with, you can also draw alongside us and then post your results in the Discord below. And we are going to try to incorporate Midjourney into this. So that is kind of the goal for today. But before we get started, Alex, do you want to say who you are and what you do?
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Dos Diaz. I'm kind of illustrator, designer. I play around with symbolism a lot in my illustrations, and yeah, I think that kind of sums it up, I guess.
Yeah, so Alex and I have gotten really close the last 2 years. I would say since 2020, literally the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I remember I reached out to you then, and I was like, hey, I kind of feel like I miss a little bit of that community, and I kind of got a good vibe from you when I met you at the workshop, and I thought I could, relate, and so we kind of hit it up from there.
Yeah, I would say since then, I feel like you and I have had the same mentality on like growth in the art world and like this passion that seems to, it's not like we always find a lot of artists that share that same level of like commitment to the work or like trying to better yourself in the art world. So I think it's been kind of nice for us to, congregate. And then obviously with our other friends, it's been just a fun little journey the last 2 years. But today we're going to battle it out. We're going to throw some hands. So get ready to battle.
Yeah,
Okay.
throw hands, sure.
So I was already talking to Alex before the stream. I think we're going to keep it in the fantasy genre. And the way that we're going to do this is I guess, Alex, do you have any prompt suggestions that you want me to put into Midjourney? Because the way that I'm thinking is I'll put it into Midjourney and then whatever best results, like I'll share with you the results on Discord. And then I'll also share the one that we pick with the Discord people or the people watching in case they also want to draw their interpretation.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
And also, if any of you guys have suggestions from the comments, now mind you, we're going to try to keep this in the fantasy realm. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking definitely more like villainous today. I don't
villainous today.
But
I mean, the prompt could be villainous, right? And then whatever we can make out of it, like we just make whatever. Unless you're thinking we should be creating in the same realm as well.
Ooh.
Because it could be like, okay, so we come up with a prompt, we come up with a cool image, and then we're thinking like, okay, where do each of us take it? It could go many different ways.
Yeah.
What do the people want? What say you people?
Yeah, also, hello everyone in the chat. Everyone's putting where they're watching from. They're watching from Netherlands, Denmark. Oh, we got 2 Denmarks. Hello everyone. Hey, Felix. Lars, hello. Corinna, hello. Schwa, good to see you here.
Oh, yeah.
Foxface, hello. Yeah, I'm thinking let's give it like 3 simple terms, maybe an adjective, to put into Midjourney. And for those of you who don't know what Midjourney is, I guess I should have prefaced with this. It's an AI art generator where you spit in terms and words, and it'll create something based on what you input. And I just did a whole tutorial on it that you can watch on my YouTube channel, but that is what we're going to be working with today. And I'm thinking we do, how about, you know what, let's do, oh, I got an idea. Here we go, Alex. Okay.
Oh, okay.
We both get to pick 2 words that we put into the prompt. See what I'm doing here? So then in the end, it'll be 4 words.
4 words.
So I guess we'll go back and forth. And since you're new here, I'll go first so that you can kind of counter whatever I put. So my first one is, I'm going to put villain.
Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure, that works. Ooh. Because so my first go-to was like wings, right? But then I've been drawing so many wings recently, and I'm like sick of them. But
like, no more
we
wings.
can make them cool. But we can make them cool, you know. Yeah, just put wings in there. I think that would be kind of.
Oh, you are gonna say wings?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, if you're doing wings. Oh, okay. I'm leaning towards either like a. God, I've done so many sorcerers though recently. I don't want to just default to that.
Yeah, no, because that's like a handicap for you. Not. I mean, whatever. I'm not saying I can't
Alex,
keep
a
up.
handicap. Wow, look at the shade. I would like to consider it a crutch.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Let's see here. Villain and wings. Okay. Oh, I see the chat. Felix is saying a skeleton or skull. Ooh, a dryad from Krina.
So someone's asking an anime manga, like they're saying if the generator can take a theme, you know? Like if you write, yeah, it can.
Naruto as a theme would be interesting.
That's a crutch for someone here.
Oh, Oscar says, what if I typed in Bloodborne as my second prompt?
That could get really weird.
You know what? Okay, I'll let the chat take my second one. I'll put Bloodborne as my second pick.
You will? Okay. Interesting. Wow, that's villainous wings Bloodborne.
So right now we have Bloodborne villain with wings.
Okay.
What are you gonna decide, Alex?
Mask.
Oh. Wearing any specific type of mask or just mask?
I don't like. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Because I know we had Dion typed in like feral kid mask, and it created some really cool looking things.
Yeah, I like that. Hello, Melinda.
Melinda, is she in the room?
I think so. Yeah.
Alex's love.
She's in the chat, in the room. Yeah, in the actual chat. I mean, yeah, she's in the house.
I'm like looking for her on your screen. Gotcha.
Yeah, she's in the house. Yeah, let's. That's a cool idea. How about like kitsune? What is that? What's that word? The fox, the Japanese fox. I can't remember the
wearing
word.
Kitsune mask.
Kitsune mask. There you go.
All right, I'm gonna type it in.
That sounds Naruto to me. That sounds pretty nice.
That's very anime.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. Last night, me and Girl Sean were watching Legendary, and one of the themes was anime, but clearly they don't fully understand what anime is because everyone went to like high-pitched schoolgirl. It was it was low-key a little embarrassing. Only one group did like a Dragon Ball Z like incorporated theme.
Because that's better.
Yeah. Well, better than for me that's better.
They're both anime, right? I mean, you have to understand it kind of like comes with the horrible, the ugly, and the bad as well, you know, because there's a lot of garbage out there. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, the week before it was like horror, the theme was like horror, and they did like, they did Freddy, they did Saw, they did The Ring Girl, like, it was so good though, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for the anime one, like, who knows what either Miyazaki, or maybe they'll do like more lesser known animes, but no, it was like they didn't get it. They just didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting like Ghibli at least, right? Like,
Yeah. Oh,
Something
okay.
more like
Ready, Alex? I'm gonna send you the results.
Ooh, is it any good?
Oh.
How are we gonna do this? Are we gonna are we gonna get a, ooh, okay. Interesting.
And because
Oh,
you are the guest battler, I will let you choose which thumbnail to upscale. So for those of you who can't see it, hold on, I'm going to temporarily put this in front of your drawing.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not impressed. I'm a little bit like,
Oh, he's not impressed. Do you want variations?
It's lacking a little bit, I think. I don't know.
We could definitely
I don't
add
see.
more to the composition.
Yeah, I don't see Bloodborne in this. And we should maybe add some, like, a sentence of, like, doing something. You know, like some kind of action maybe. We're not action people, you know, drawing, but I'm thinking that.
I'm cool with this.
Like, what do you think? Like, because these are very centered, very, okay, wings. Is it on? Are you showing everyone?
So I'm trying to get this picture without it messing up the stream. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna
We're getting echo from me.
I'm covering your thing up really quick.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone, let me make this smaller. Alright, so these were the 4 results. I mean, I don't hate them. I feel like I could definitely interpret them. And mind you, we can definitely change the pose or like angle them if we want.
Yeah.
But how about this? You know, because this is the first time we're doing this art battle, we'll always do it where we each get to input 2, but then after we see the first results, we each get to add 1 more thing.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna once again, I'm gonna go with what the chat was saying, and I liked someone suggested Baroque, so I'm putting Baroque.
Oh yeah, it has to go. It's gonna be so hand in hand with like Bloodborne stuff.
So then I guess I'll let you add in the action that you're talking about.
Oh, I mean action. I don't know if that's.
And then for those of you watching, I'm also going to put this in the stream follow along. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this type of stream, and Alex and I had such weird audio issues before this started that I think like my brain's little scrambled eggs at the moment. Okay, I just posted it there too. But yes, I'm sticking with Baroque style, Bloodborne villain with wings wearing kitsune mask.
Smoke. Just put smoke. Just put smoke. You know, that talk about a handicap.
Oh gosh, I like how we can also recognize what our crutches are. Like,
oh yeah,
I would definitely sorcerer with very like interpretable robe elements with trinkets that are just like gaudy and all over. Like to me, that is like I can work with that all day.
Yeah. I mean, I can still work with that, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to get some of those weird ones. You know, I feel like we can definitely make an image out of any of these. Like that's fine. I don't hate them, but I mean, if anything, I like 3 the best. If you're going 1, 2, 3, right? But
I see. I think I feel like 2 and 4. If you remove some of the weirder elements, I could see that being a character like a villain. But you're right. You know, I kind of like the idea of doing it twice because the first one's kind of like, okay, here's the foundation of your results. How do you want to tweak it?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Already, I think I'm liking the new results better. So it's currently cooking. So for those of you who don't know, Midjourney, you have to like cook your input prompts. So right now it's at 67%, but I think already we're going to get some more. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Alex, we're going to have more fun with this.
Yeah, I just feel like you get some of those really weird ones, and they're like, I can see a person sitting by this building in this crazy place, or then it looks like just it could be anything else, you know. I love to look into the images. What I enjoy the most, I think, out of the program or whatever you want to call it. Let me see.
All right, I just sent.
Oh yeah, even the colors. Ooh, yes, this is what I mean. Okay, I'm excited. I'm stoked. Yeah. Ooh.
Right.
Just 2 words, right?
Well, okay, so I think we should upscale one of them. So we have to decide together. Actually, wait, no, because I'm challenging you. I'll let you decide which one you want
Oh, come
to.
on.
Putting the pressure back in your court.
Oh, man.
And
Okay,
for
it's
those of
gotta
you
be 3 or
watching,
4.
here, wait, I'm going to share this with them as well. So if you guys want to see this result, I am putting it in the Discord that you can join below, and it's under the stream follow along channel. All right, which one do you think?
It's gotta be 3 or 4.
That's
4
right.
looks so cool.
Let's do
but
4.
3's
I've done so much symmetrical recently. I'm definitely into
Right?
4.
Okay, all right, cool. Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So Midjourney now allows you to basically what's called upscale. So we are going to take the 4th one, so the bottom right one in these selections, and it's basically going to render more detail, more texture, and then that will be the one we work from. So if you guys want to draw alongside us and battle us as well, I'm going to post this one in the Discord once it finishes baking, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our battle.
Yeah, I mean, out of all these, I think I see someone's mentioning that 1 is really interesting. I mean, yeah, these are, I would say 3 of them are really great. The number 3, the very symmetrical one, I'm kind of like, man.
Like
Yeah.
I like the color palette for sure,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's too. I don't want to say straightforward.
It's
It's
too
just
mirror.
too, yeah.
Yeah, it's boring.
We're like 4, and mind you, we don't have to take everything that is in the drawing for
No.
like facts. So I'm definitely going to interpret it. And the way that the horns are, I could either see this being like an insect horn, like what's that great horn beetle where it comes down the center or something?
Yeah.
Or maybe I will just split them into 2. You know what? I'm not going to give away my thoughts on it.
Okay.
Okay.
You gotta be like anime, man. You gotta tell me what you're gonna do before you do it. And I'm gonna be pretending like I don't know what you just said.
Kamehameha! I'm
Yeah.
going to share this one with you right now. Okay, I'm getting a vibe from this one for sure. I definitely can work with this. And I think you'll be able to work with this one too.
Yeah, I'm already done if you haven't noticed.
Okay, so here was the results. Okay, so for any of you that want to draw with us and battle myself and my challenger, Alex Dos Diaz, today, we will be starting in about 1 minute. I'm just going to get my tools ready. I'm going to make sure Alex's screen is able to be seen.
Okay.
Oh, this is great.
It's getting better already.
Well, what's funny is, like, I think because this is kind of the test run for the battles, like, I definitely would love to have you on future ones, too. I think we're kind of figuring out, okay, what will be the format on how to make this work? And, like, being able to show, like, the 4 images right away. I'm like, okay, I got that. And you know what? I'm also gonna... Oops. What did I call it? I guess for those of you who come in after we start, I'm also going to throw just a little thumbnail of this image on the very bottom. There it is. I'm going to move this.
Oh, people want to see the upscale.
So I put it in... Oh, did I not put it in the thing yet? Oh, I forgot to click enter again. All right, there we go. All right, uploading. Okay. Now we can finally get to the fun part. Are you ready, Alex?
As ready as I'm going to be. Oh, look at that. It goes in the middle. Cool.
Yeah, right?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to move that there. All right, everyone. Are you guys ready? And feel free to ask any questions during this. Like, even though this is a battle between Alex and myself, and it's to the death, we're still going to answer any of your comments, or if you have any questions. We are here for you guys as well. We're not just here to battle each other, even though that is the priority.
Even though Timothy has already lost, we are here to answer your questions in the meantime.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And then for all of you that are asking questions, just put @Vonnart. That way when I go up and down between the drawing and the chat, I can see it really easily. That way I can keep going in this drawing. All right, Alex, are you ready?
Sure.
Battle starts. And see, this is where I also need to hire like an animation person that could have like a 3, 2, 1.
Sean.
And like,
Sean's got to do it.
yeah. All right, let's get it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. And obviously, we can definitely share our thoughts while working on this in terms of like, I mean, if you want to keep it more secretive too, that's cool. But the way that I'm seeing this, I'm definitely seeing some type of a monstrosity type villain wearing formal clothing.
I'm not even drawing a villain. I'm not even thinking like that far ahead as to like what I'm gonna be. I'm just letting it go right now, I think, and see what comes out. You know?
I mean, that's fair.
I'm going to use all of my digital cheating tools, you know, like resizing. And
I'm going to use my traditional cheating tools like a Bath and Body candle topper for circles.
Okay. See? Cheating is cheating.
So I guess while we're doing the initial stages, because I feel like this is when we need to concentrate the most, so let's talk about something that I know both of us don't need a super amount of concentration to talk about, and that's how do we feel about Midjourney currently? And I will say, as of right now, I'm actually a huge fan of it. I definitely switched my stance from being like really afraid of it and like the potential it has to kind of disrupt our community into using it as like this super powerful tool that can do things like what we're doing today. Like, to me, this is such a fun exploration of what Midjourney is capable of doing.
Yeah. I mean, when we first started talking about it and everything, with everything I have going on, I felt like, I was like, I don't have time for this new thing. I always feel like...
You were so busy.
I'm always feeling like, oh, I'm on track with the thing that I want to do, right? And like I'm starting to do the thing, and by the time I start it, right, then everyone's like, oh, we already moved on to something else. I'm like, can we please just hang on for me to catch up just a little bit, right? Because even you know, outside of in the creator realm, I'm like Patreon is another thing. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get Patreon going on, or do this or do that, and then like that's changing very rapidly too, you know. But that's just like an example of something that I can think of right away that it feels that way. But no, I mean overall, I think like I remember I was hanging out with Dustin Inkwell, and he was like, yeah, this is. I mean, I've seen the examples you all posted on the chat, and I thought they were really cool and really fascinating. And then Dustin showed me how simple it really was, that it really was just put these things in there and then like go from there. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm into it. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can give this a shot. So he gave me an invite, and I was like, okay, cool, I gave it a shot. And it was so bad. Everything that was coming up was so horrible. And so it took a little bit of a learning curve for sure. But I don't know. I had to kind of stop myself from using it, to be honest, for now. Because I have so much going on. Yeah, I have so much going on. I just felt like, okay, so this gets a lot of ideas going and flowing. And like, it's great. But I feel like you can just as easily get lost in all those possibilities and think, I could do this and I could do that. And I never get started on anything. And that's the real danger of it to me, I think, right now for a creative, right? Because you're getting a quick fix of like a finished piece almost. So that's scary too.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started messing with it, I didn't realize like an hour or two would have gone by. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally haven't drawn tonight because I've been just experimenting with Midjourney. Really quick, I'm going to turn this weird thing into more of like a helmet that he's wearing. Did you ever play Tekken back in the day? I'm getting Yoshimitsu. Specifically from Tekken 4, when he had like that bug, the purple outfit. And then low-key, I'm also getting Stun the insect from Bloody Roar, if you ever played that.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay.
But I'm definitely
Yeah,
gonna
no, I
like
can see it.
slim them down and then give them this like regal. I don't know this. I feel this character so far, and he's like speaking to me as I'm putting down my marks right now.
Yeah, I'm like getting a little bit caught up on things, so I'm trying to kind of let go of that and move
I'm telling you,
ahead
talking
from
and
it.
drawing can be difficult.
I know multitasking, if only.
Well, I mean, you should be the best at it because I've never seen anyone
No.
multitask as much as you have this past like 3 4 months.
Yeah, we still got 6 months to go.
Oh, Sam's here. Hey, Sam.
Hey, hey, hey.
Let's
I
see.
know.
Well, here I'll do a little bit of talking so that you can catch up
No,
on.
no, no. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. Don't give me, like, oh, I'm gonna tie one hand behind my back so that
Here for
you
the next
can.
10 minutes, I'll blindfold myself.
Yeah, exactly. No, this isn't that.
Okay, Ash is asking, how can you get Midjourney and use it? And can you use it as a loose reference for an art piece and claim your art piece as your own, or would it be Midjourney? I think this is a very heavily debated thing right now. I think if you were just generating things and then doing like minor edits on the top, I still don't think you should consider that your art. I think
No.
if you're using it as a base for reference or thumbnailing or composition or color use, yeah, I think that's very fair. I think that's what artists already do. I mentioned this in my tutorial too about there's already books about stealing like an artist. It's literally called Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah.
And it's basically where you mash up in Frankenstein so many different references and inspirations and styles together that the original thing you're referencing from gets kind of lost in the mix. So it's not like a clear cut copyright issue anymore. So that's how I see Midjourney as well.
I mean, that's the whole Picasso thing, right?
What's the Picasso thing?
Like to steal, just like, oh, just steal
Oh,
whatever, change it. Isn't that book like
I don't know. I haven't read
Steal
the
Like an
book.
Artist? Okay,
I
I've
had
heard
two of
about
my
this.
roommates read it, and they gave me kind of the synopsis of what it basically entails. And it's, yeah, very much like, yeah, you take influence from what you see, but you're not taking it directly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hmm, we do that, don't we, though?
Oh,
I feel like
1000%. Most of us use
we
Pinterest
do that.
images or they Google search or heck, some of us just use other artists. Like, I'm not even, free from this. I've definitely looked at books of Muka before and used it as like a heavy influence for what I'm working on.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends. I do think that there is a fine line between being inspired by something and just copying that thing. And like, I think that as a student, you should be starting that way. I don't know that you should, but I think it's okay if you start copying things because I mean, that's what attracts you to the art, like you kind
Hmm.
of see it and then you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I kind of want to make stuff like this. But at a certain point, it starts to feel like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't feel like even after you make something that looks exactly like I think you're copying, it feels like, oh, this doesn't really feel like my own stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like most artists, when they're copying, it's when they're younger. It's usually like I remember copying Kingdom Hearts and Pokemon way, way back in the day. And then
Right,
as
right,
you
right.
like continue getting older and maturing your art style, there will be things that you pick up that you like and then things that you don't like and then you leave them behind. Like I definitely still draw a lot of the way I draw eyes, the same way that Tetsuya Nomura drew his eyes with like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy was it 7 and 8, where it's like a double
Mm,
ring iris. Where I really liked that, but then I have evolved my own way of drawing eye over the year, where it still has like the basis of a double iris, but it doesn't really pick up just like taking it from that directly anymore.
yeah. I mean, I like that look. I recognize that look. And you start recognizing things from the things that you also love. I
Hmm.
think it was somebody recently we met at a show. I think it was um, what was their name? It was like at ICC, right? We met them. They had a portfolio. They weren't selling that much, but they had a bunch of really cool stuff. Like you could tell right away that they stood out.
Oh, was it the
hologram?
Yes.
Hologram, right? Yeah, and they were like, it had some awesome stuff, and it had some character design, right? And I was looking at it, and I'm like, this just reminds me of Capcom stuff so much, like all stuff. And then they were like, oh, I don't know, and I'm like, that's cool, but you might have seen it somewhere before, but
Like subconsciously.
Yeah, it comes through, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Here, wait, hold on. We got some
Yeah, for
questions
sure.
we got to catch up on. Jen says, it looks like his arm is made of smoke. Kind of, like his right arm. And then Jen says, in one of the Fatal Frame games, there's a sickness where the person blooms and their face turns into a flower, which always gave me a grotesque vibe. That is what this face reminded me of. Because that's also kind of what Last of Us did with the fungus.
I was going to say. Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that maybe they did get the inspiration. I never played a Fatal Frame game. I saw one of my friends play it like way, way back in the day when we were at a cabin and it was really spooky. What?
PS1.
Yeah, back in those days, right? And then the next question is from Wojak says, do you play video games these days? Okay, Alex, what games are you playing recently?
Virtual reality to Alex Diaz's life. He just works all the time. No, okay, so I've been I was playing Elden Ring, Touch and Go. I just kind of want to get back into it a little bit, but whenever I have time, I feel like I've only been able to touch games that allow me to kind of stop playing right there and then move on without having to like find a safe spot or anything like that, which is like the stuff I used to love the most, which sucks in a way. But I've been playing the Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is one of my favorite games ever, and then they just remastered it or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
For Switch, and I kind of picked that up again, and it was kind of cool to just run around, play that, and anything else. I'm playing like a bunch of things a little bit at a time, I guess.
I didn't realize you were like a game hopper.
Well, it's because like I have so little time, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I really want to start playing this thing, but Elden Ring takes like it's an investment. You can't just pick it up. In my opinion, I feel like you can't just pick it up and like, okay, just drop it. So I'm like kind of playing through that. Hades. I still have to beat Hades. I love that game. It's so cool. All of like the Supergiant. It's the Supergiant, I think.
Yeah. Bastion.
It's just
so good.
It's so good. It's so good. Transistor is incredible. Like, just so much fun. The artistry is just beautiful, and I mean, I love them through and through. There's some games I'm like playing. I'm like, oh, the art, I could care less, or I don't know. I don't think I would play that, but.
Tell us how you really feel about other games.
Dude, some games suck. Like, some games suck. Especially if you like them. Like, anything Pokemon, get it out of here.
I mean, I don't know if you played Sean. So for those watching, Art of Price is one of our other really good friends. We have a good trio session every now and then, and I feel like Sean usually gets the blunt of our jokes, but he likes this one game.
That guy. No way.
I don't even want to bring this one up because I had such a bad time playing it, but he likes this game called
Kentucky Zero Drive.
Kentucky Route Zero. Kentucky Zero Drive. No, that's the amount of drive I had to play it. 0. I did not, and it was like a book that you just read, but it's one of those choose your own adventure games, and it drove me nuts. Like, I am obviously into art, but when things are trying to be artsy fartsy, it like drives me nuts sometimes. But anyways, I did beat Elden Ring, and then recently I was playing Project Triangle, but I put that on the back burner because right now I decided to play Final Fantasy VI, and I'm like 8 hours into it. I like just started on Sunday, and I've like love it. I kind of forget that old games have like a cheekiness of their own. I always like assume older games will just be more like monotone or boring, but literally there's a part in this game where you are trapped in this city where you're not supposed to be there, so you have to be more like undercover. So you walk into this bar, and immediately there's a merchant that like has he's just angry for whatever reason. He wants to fight you. And the character that I was using, he's a thief, so I always steal from my opponents right away just to get high potions or whatever, and you never know. So then I did steal right away, and immediately he gets stripped naked to his like underwear, and then he does like this pose where he's like trying to cover up his body, and then his name went from like Blue Merchant to Birthday Suit. And then he like is like embarrassed. He's like, "Oh no, don't look at me!" And he runs off the screen. And then the character that I was does like a spin and then changes into his wardrobe. It was so cute and unexpected that it like I don't know. I really enjoyed that.
Wow, that is really cool. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what they had so little to work with, right? That they really had to come up with this cool ideas to tell their story. And yeah, I love that. I mean, even like there's so many little things, and I think like if you didn't read into them, then you would miss it completely.
Yep.
Right? And you're like, oh, I just missed this. But playing them as an adult, things that you miss, as a kid, you're like, oh man, did that really just happen? And that's why it's really awesome to kind of go back and play those games. Man, I don't know. I feel like 10 and below Final Fantasy wise have been like, I know people love 12. People love 12. People love 14. I think that's a totally different kind of like game in my opinion.
Yeah, 14's a different genre all on its own.
And it's amazing. It looks amazing. It looks really like, and it looks like it would take up all the time I don't have. But yeah, I think that 10 and like 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are my Final Fantasies, really. Actually, I don't know if I told you this, but I played Final Fantasy 1 with my siblings when I was like, I don't know, 11, 12, in Uruguay.
I did not know this.
So, yeah, so we were in Uruguay. We didn't know English, so it was the three of us. It was my oldest brother, a younger brother of mine, and then a friend, and we played it in English with an English dictionary because we didn't know what was going on, but we really wanted to play this game, So it took us hundreds of hours to get anywhere.
Oh my gosh!
But it was commitment.
I mean, that's really cool of like a story though. I'm assuming it helped you learn a little bit of English in the process, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. And it pissed me off when we talked to a NPC that had nothing to do with the story, and we spent 3 hours figuring out what both they were talking about. And it was like, how is this helping us? What are we looking for?
By the way, I'm giving this villain a goblet. He looks like someone that would drink from one.
Nice. Yeah. So Mid-Journey, right? Bring it back. Bring it back, right? Unless there's another questions that
actually
we're missing here.
Yes, there's just a few. Okay, so Jen's saying is photo bashing is another example of something similar. Absolutely. I think this is kind of like a very, very, very advanced photo bashing machine, in my opinion. But I know even photo bashing had a lot of artists kind of up in arms on should that even be considered art. But for concept artists, I get it more. That's a whole nother thing. So I feel like, how do you feel about it, Alex?
About photo bashing?
Yeah.
Okay, hot take.
Hot take incoming. Well, this is a battle war zone, so get it out there.
Here we go. I think that people have problems with things they can't do correctly. So there's a bit of an insecurity and a jealousy. So I think that if I try photo bashing, it will be a mess. And I'm like, they're making it look so easy and they're coming out with such interesting, cool shapes and ideas, right? So then if you're focused on even like the matter of me not having time to kind of check into Mid-Journey when I thought about it, that was a little bit of jealousy hidden by I don't have time to mess with this because I just thought it was going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I'm like just catching up into working this way or working that way, and I felt that this was going to again be another shift, So photo bashing, I feel like people who can do it and do it well, good, do it. And like, if you feel like whatever resonates with you, it's my biggest advice I always give. So if it resonates with you, then go forth and make it happen. And so I think that's why people have negative. Of course, that's not the only reason, but that's partially a reason that I don't think it gets talked about at all, if enough or at all. I think.
I mean, that's a very fair take. I wouldn't say that's that hot. I feel like a lot of people would agree with you on it. I
don't know.
I mean, obviously for me, since I went to game art and design school, photo bashing was very much incorporated into like what is expected of you. So for me, I was almost like trained that this is just like another aspect of the design process. But I will say they definitely made it very clear though that they say that they don't consider it art per se. They see it as like a foundation to work from, which I thought was interesting.
Well, of course, because it's intimidating.
Yeah. Well then, okay, so then how do you feel about when people are creating mid-journey stuff and then just calling it their own at the end?
Okay.
Hot seat, put you right in there.
Yeah. Okay. This goes into the conversations we have already about whether a tool is a tool or it's making things easier for you, and anybody could just become an artist because they have a tool that can just make it happen, right? Mm-hmm. I think that you have to have the eye, or like the idea. You have to be able to recognize things for what they are and know what you're looking for it to make sense. And so when people put a couple prompts like we did, it took us 5 minutes?
Yeah, if that.
It probably took us longer. It took Midjourney longer to kind of generate an image than it took us to come up with the stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that
right, that's where Midjourney gets tricky.
You have to be able to recognize. I think that's what it is. I kind of got a little bit lost there of what I'm saying, but I think you have to be able to recognize what you're looking for and what you're trying to make. And I think that even a lot of people, that's why you see a lot of Midjourney stuff that isn't necessarily great, because it's people who are playing with it. And I encourage everybody to play with it. I don't care, like whether you're an artist or not an artist or whatever. If you can get your hands on it, I think like it's a fun, creative way. Because even I had my wife try it. I said, here, just give it a prompt, do whatever, just say anything, right? And we put in these words, and it was like some mixing of like red and black and snake, something else. And it was just bad, like so bad. It was horrible. So we kind of had to look into it a little bit more and figure out what was working, what's not working. But if you don't know what you're looking at and what you're looking for, then it kind of becomes a little bit more challenging and more intimidating as well, I think.
Oh, for sure.
So, but I feel like I got a little bit distracted from the question at hand, which is, how do I feel about people who claim it their own?
I feel like that was a politician way of like going around the question with
right. It was totally like, okay, you're not in high school, you're not in school, you're not in front of the teacher. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Gut reaction to it, go.
Gut reaction to it, ugh. Like, just,
yeah, same.
Like, literally gut, like, ugh. I think that it's not really creating. Midjourney is doing all the creating. I understand that you're putting your input and you're putting your words, but you're literally only kind of guiding it ever so slightly. And then it's taking all this input and generating however it does it, right? However AI does AI. But, yeah, I don't know. I just feel there's a bit of a, because even going back to what I was saying, right? You would say, oh well, but if you have the eye, then like you can definitely recognize what's good and what's not. It's like, but you didn't do it. There's growing. There is there is shifts in your work as you work through them, and one day you wake up feeling a certain way, and then you start a piece, and then the next day you think you know exactly the way it's going, and then the next day you wake up feeling a different way, or you went through a different experience, and the piece changes because you change. And then at the end of the process, the piece has gone through as many things as you have, and it's like it could have ended a million different ways, depending on what you experienced from the beginning of the piece to the end of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it means something. That's why it carries a thing that I feel people can feel and tell when they see your work, as compared to Boss, Smoke, Bighorns, Bloodborne, Tanner, you know? And then that just comes out. And I think that's what differentiates it from being, I mean, my recognition or my definition, understanding of what art is, to like a generated image with a really rich color palette, you know, in a technical sense, that we can see inside this blob and this mess and make something out of it. But I don't know if everybody can do that.
You know what's funny is I used to disagree with you on a lot of the, like, even viewing like photo bashing and stuff, and like seeing what tools and whatnot, especially, I mean, Alex and I have had very, very good debates in the past about like digital art versus traditional, but I have to admit, I think I'm starting to see what you mean about you still have to have the eye at the end of the day. Because I'm seeing people just kind of copy and paste what other people are putting into Midjourney, and yeah, you're getting similar results, but it still feels like digital mashup of Midjourney's creations, where it doesn't really speak to the soul of the person making it, but then the people that are using Midjourney as like a source of inspiration, they're taking it and then they're creating these really cool things from it. And I'm thinking to me, that's the distinction right there, is being able to use it in a way that, as I say that though, there's other artists though that just literally don't even do any editing on it, and they have gained a lot of followers on Instagram from it. And yeah, that made me kind of uncomfortable, but it's funny now that Midjourney's becoming more saturated in people posting about it, I'm seeing them not get as much engagement as they used to, because like people are starting to catch on that, you know, it's AI generated art or whatever.
Well, of course, you know. I mean, when the Backstreet Boys came out, they were hot, and then NSYNC came out, and it was like hot, and then it was like, then there's so many other boy bands that came out after. I think like, you know, when there's a newer thing, I mean, this could be totally wrong, but I feel like most people understand and can relate, you know, Backstreet Boys or whatever, NSYNC. But I'm thinking like, in terms of, it's hot, it's new, I've never seen anything like this. If somebody posted this image in front of me, I would have been like, the one we're drawing up right now, like, wow, okay, this is kind of sick, who's doing this? And I think that what saddens me the most about this is like, I know at least 2 or 3 people who work in a very similar painterly, you're not sure what you're looking at, and amazing color-rich palettes, Key being one of them,
Pui.
Even Tobias Kwan, Pui, and I love their stuff. And they now are the ones getting hit the hardest, I think, with this, because, I mean, it's very, very similar.
That's where I think it is kind of sad, because Boyke told me that he already at Anime Central was getting questioned at his booth on whether or not it was AI generated or not.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, that just frankly sucks. Like, I couldn't imagine if some AI processor came out and basically made a style that looked very similar to what I was already doing. I mean, yeah, it's going to create a lot of problems in the future, especially as this becomes very much more saturated in the art world and people become more aware of it. All these conventions, then, a lot of congors may not even ask like Boyke anymore. They'll just assume. They'll just be like, oh, well, he made that with AI.
Well, can you imagine if people just like walk away from his booth and they're like, oh, I don't, you know, okay, so let's say we go in here and then, you know, you're bad-mouthing whatever, AI. You have your opinion. I wouldn't say bad-mouthing. I would say you have a strong opinion against AI.
What? No, I like AI. What are you talking about?
No, I'm not saying you.
Oh, like the person at the con.
Let's just say, whoever, let's say another influencer for the sake of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
they continues to share their information, their strong feelings about AI and Midjourney, and they're saying like, oh, this is like the devil, whatever, yada yada, right? And then some people or some young artists kind of view that, and then they kind of agree with it without, with half the information, only by listening to this person, right? And then now you have the same young artists go to a show, and then they'll see Boy Key's booth, Tobias' booth, or whatever, and then they'll be like, oh, that's that AI-generated crap.
Yeah.
And like they just keep walking, and it's like, so how do you do that? How like.
Well, it's like, how do you
deal with that, right?
It's that whole issue of how do you prove it's not AI? Because I'm assuming like Boyke and a lot of these other artists aren't recording every time they start painting digitally. So then there's this horrible just assumption that I think will be had by a lot of people viewing it that, well, it must be AI. Because visually it's similar.
Right. And I mean, even the idea that you would have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
Like people see your stuff and they're like, oh, you did this in pencil? That's amazing, right? Like, you drew this, right? But they recognize that it's a drawing. Nobody's really like, oh, is this real? Is this
that's true.
Computer generated this, right? Even though now we know many artists who get away with saying that they did make this stuff in paper and pencil, and they do everything in Procreate because Procreate has the tools to, even Photoshop, whatever, has the tools to
make it look traditional.
Mimic the traditional, right?
Yeah, shout out to Sean Bryce.
Leave him alone.
Leave Brittany alone.
Your battle is with me. No, I think that's kind of like the sad part about all this. When it comes to like, even for me and the way I kind of approach things, it's very different from, I'm sure a lot of people are watching this and are like, this isn't different, dude. You're just like pushing some pixels. And I'm like, that's fine. But I mean, my end result, right? It's very different than something you would get from Midjourney as of right now. I mean, maybe if you put in the right prompts, you would get something that's very much like what I do. I just haven't found them yet, and that's fine. I'm okay with not knowing. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. But I can take this mess and make it into something completely kind of different, and that's cool and fun and exciting.
That's
to me.
That's where I'm viewing it right now. I'm still seeing it as like fun and exciting. Okay, hold on though. I found out we have a lot of questions to catch up on.
Yeah.
All right. The first thing is, yes, this is a 2-hour stream. So we'll probably stop at like 2:20 Central Time because we took about 20 minutes to actually begin. So if you are drawing alongside us, you have about an hour and 24 minutes left. So keep it going. Push those, either pixels or graphite. Okay, we're gonna spit round some of these questions. You ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Do you guys play League of Legends? I did for like 8 years of my life. Huge fan. I haven't played, though, in like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. What about you?
Next question.
Drag 'em. All right. Jen says, I don't think that people are going to cheat, but I think the software might have a preference for certain art styles, while I think that this is going to affect new art for a while. Yes. I think younger artists specifically will be influenced by this. I'm not like bothered by that though in terms of like style, because if this influences younger artists to be a bit more loose and vague and interpretable, I'm not mad at it, but I don't think artists should be using this as like the end results in terms of like just generating something and then like maybe painting a face on and then calling it done. To me, that like destroys what I believe art is to begin with. So yeah, obviously that makes me feel uncomfortable. What about you?
Okay, so perfect example. What is the name of the artist who? It's like, so they are using Midjourney right now. I think very heavily, and they're coming up with some really cool stuff. And they show some of their process, and they're kind of chopping, almost if you would
Oh,
Photo Bash, Midjourney.
Necro.
Yes, them. So they're using Midjourney in a very interesting way because they kind of mix bashing and photo bashing, if you would, or collaging, digital collaging, whatever. From my understanding, from what I've seen, from what they've shown, to create a final image. And I mean, I think when I found that, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That is so cool because if someone who collages or whatever, they could kind of like find existing material already. But now you have a generator for cool colors and compositions and pieces and bits, and you're cutting this and cutting that and taking that and you're making your own out of it. I mean, I think that's what this tool is for in its current state. I think that would be my idea of it, I guess. So again, going back to the whole idea of whether it's cool or not to post it as your own work, as it is, just as it comes out hot to press. I don't think that's cool for anybody,
But yeah, and like art is so subjective that it's obviously me and Alex, when we're talking about this, it's very much our opinions because we can't state any of this as fact either. But I do think it's good to acknowledge if something makes you uncomfortable, like you should acknowledge that. And for me, yeah, it kind of makes me uncomfortable. Like if I posted this weird beetle villain thing and then like be like, hey, I just made a new piece. To me, that I have like a kind of like what you were saying, a gut reaction of just like, ugh, I don't like that at all.
But do you think that's because you've been doing this for so long, the way that you have, that now you're like recognizing this new thing and you feel like it goes against what you already do?
Actually, that could be too, because like I can't not see it through my lens perspective. So yeah, how would I feel about this if I was like 16 again and like getting into the art world? That'd be curious. I mean, I'd love to bring on, like if we were doing this, having like a younger, like actually Sam would be kind of one of those examples of, he's what, 21, 22? Was it? Sam, how old are you?
Yeah, Sam makes everything from scratch. He won't touch it.
Oh, he won't touch it?
No, I don't know. I feel like Sam really likes to construct everything. I don't know. Sam, you're in here, right? Tell us. Would you play with this?
Yeah, right. All right, let's catch up here. We got someone asking about Final Fantasy 1. Jen says, Alex playing Final Fantasy 1, I played Pokemon Blue. Oh, it looks like someone else did kind of what you were saying. Where like you play it in English, but you don't quite understand what they're saying.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's such a cool experience. That's a love that you can only kind of pour into something as a child.
Yeah. Imagine doing that now, of like playing a game in a different language.
Nope.
Let's see here. And then don't forget to put @Vonnart before the question, because I'm trying to like look up at the comments really quick and then get back to the drawing. So the next one was Ash says, how do you access Midjourney? It seems like an effective exercise for expressing new creative ideas. As of right now, it is in beta, so it is invite only. So you got to kind of ask around for people that already have access for an invite. I'm thinking that's going to change in the next coming months, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jen says, one of the best things I have seen from AI art is Oogie Boogie and Pyramid Head and a bunch of clips.
Jeez.
It doesn't surprise me that a lot of people are going to just do like fan art injections. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't seen more at this point, like on my feed. But it's probably because I don't follow a lot of artists that would probably post that kind of stuff. Who knows? All right. Next one is, Jen says, remember when DeviantArt artists got harassed for using references? Yes. Yes, I do. Oh, okay, Alex, were you around? This is like 10 years ago. I remember when I went into college and people had this whole thing of you're not supposed to use references if you're a real artist. So you would have a bunch of us like drawing proportions blind, essentially. And
wow.
It was weird. It was a really weird time, especially in contrast to today's day and age, where like not using references is seen as like weird.
Yeah.
I do think that yes, references help create a better end result.
Yeah, there's definitely schools of thought on that for sure. I think that obviously I respect both methods. I think that I know people who like to construct everything. I think Sam Wayne being one of them. We had a conversation about it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I like to construct my figures because then I know how to kind of change everything." So he's very savvy and understands his like reference and kind of stuff like that. I think he's still, I mean, not reference, but his whatever he's trying to create, right? Structurally wise. Yeah, I was in college and I remember my roommate had a class where they had to draw this like nature drawing. So they were drawing. I remember specifically because he was drawing this gorilla, and I thought it was really cool. And then some kid showed up, and then he had drawn like this like giraffes or an elephant, something. And I think my roommate was like, "Dude, I saw that image. Like, I saw that basically like image on Google. Like, you could look it up, and the reference is pretty much like, I don't know if it was straightforward, but it was pretty close." And the teacher at the time actually told them, he's like, "Oh, you just need to get the job done. So you use whatever tools you got to get that done." So if it took him, yeah, he was like, if it took him, like, I mean, this is a conversation we've had too, right? It's about using tools and reference, and the idea that if it's going to take you all day, but then you feel some kind of way about like it's like an ego thing. Right, the way he explained it, it's like, oh, it's your ego that you feel that you did a good thing because you built it from the ground up, as opposed to somebody who used a reference or something to kind of like get to wherever they needed to get to quicker. And that's like, that's a debate on its own.
Well, I think like,
right?
Okay, someone doing it all from scratch, I think over the years will become a better artist in terms of like efficiency. Maybe not in like, well, no, I would think, because like you're like Sam constructing bodies every single time he does a painting. Eventually, it'll just be so easy for him to construct a figure or like manipulate it if he needs to. Where if like someone relies too heavily on references, it may be a little more difficult to like move an arm position and still have it read correctly. I do think there's like long-term benefit, but I think at this point in my career, I'm seeing that kind of like what you've been mentioning. If you're trying to have an end result in your mind and you can just take a photo of even yourself in that position, why wouldn't you use that to your advantage? Because I'm sure you're like me too. It's as soon as you start a drawing, you already have like 3 other ideas in your head cooking of what your next drawing will be. So it's like, I don't want to be spending 2 months on one drawing because I'll get so backlogged of ideas. And sometimes I just want that idea down on paper so I can move on to the next idea. And it's like the tragic cycle that we all put ourselves through.
Well, what kills me too is like, I started a piece a while ago, actually. It's happening right now. Is that I started a piece a while back, and then I got caught up with a lot of freelance, so I had to put that in the back burner and then some shows or whatever. And then now I'm looking at it again, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be totally different. Like, part of what I was explaining earlier about you living through the piece from beginning to end, I've lived without that piece for a certain amount of time, enough for it to change my perspective and mind, and I'm having a hard time connecting back to it to finish it. And that can be very dangerous for a creative, because you obviously want to finish work, right? You kind of want to move forward, and I think that can be... So I know, as Dustin said, it takes an hour of troubleshooting, and then I just need a little time to reacquaintance myself with this old friend and get back into it. So
backburning pieces can be very dangerous. I feel like whenever I come back to them, I'm always like not as inspired. I had one of my old coworkers told me, whenever you get inspired by an idea, do it like right away, because you'll never be as inspired most likely as that initial time you were excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Unless you find something else to be excited about on it.
Exactly.
And I think that is, so that takes a little bit of troubleshooting, but it's not impossible. And I think it's definitely like something that you can do. I'm totally like deviated from this so bad, but that's also so cool because it's totally not that.
Oh, I like what you're doing with the hand, or it's like bird claws.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going.
And I'm having fun making this. He somehow became a vampire in my head, like wearing this weird beetle head thing. So we'll see how this goes for me.
That's so funny because I think you approached it with the head as a helmet, and I approached it so you only showing the chin, and then I approached it where the mask is the chin and the head is something else. So we flipped the mask portion of it.
That's, to me, that's where like the cool part of Midjourney is, like where we both saw the same image and the way that we're interpreting it is like super different.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It's the possibilities, and that's what's dangerous about it. It's the possibilities can totally petrify you and not let you move forward.
Oh,
what
no.
about next? And what about this? What about that? Right?
Someone's asking, how do you spell boy key? It's KY, but we call him Boy Key because we have a. Well, I guess now they prefer they them, but for a while it was Girl Key. So, Gawky is the they them one, and then Keytran KYTRAN is Boy Key. Sadly, we have to do this because we have so many friends that share the names. Like Sean, we have Girl Sean and Boy Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, weird that I feel like we should just be making better nicknames, but.
I mean, yeah, I know.
Oh, someone's calling you out. Someone said Alex needs to catch up. Dang.
That's fine.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Facts. And you know, some people like to start and finish strong.
Well, and some people like to render an area and leave the rest a messy noodle, you know? And that's what you got going on there. So that's fine, you know? Like...
Okay, someone did mention Necro's full name is Necro XIII. So if you want to find them on Twitter or Instagram, that is it. Karina says, so would you not feel okay with selling art based on AI pieces? I would feel more okay with selling art that was based, like if I really enjoyed this beetle vampire creature, I wouldn't feel that weird about selling it as a print. I would definitely not try to hide it, though. Like, if anyone asked me what was the inspiration, I would definitely say what it was, and I would not try to play it off like it was my own idea. Or at least let them know that the foundation of the idea came from this.
You think that's hiding it, though? Because I don't know. I feel like you could say the same thing about, like, I was watching a show the other night, and it inspired me to do this.
Well, a lot of people do. Like, think of how many, like, even for my own art, I feel like so much of it was inspired by Final Fantasy. Well, okay.
Well, there you go.
Pull it back, retracting that statement. I think that, for me, I don't know why I would want to sell this drawing. Even if I really like the way it was rendered, it's still just, like, a concept piece to me. This isn't, like, me as an artist speaking my soul through illustration. So I guess for me personally, yeah, I probably wouldn't sell this because it's not really deep. It's more of like a character concept.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, here we go. It's not really deep. Is that kind of like what determines whether it's for
me, yes. I don't want anything on my booth that I feel like doesn't have some kind of a meaning behind it that I felt attached to while creating it, I guess.
I don't know. I'm giving it all the meaning right now.
What's your meaning right now?
Well, we did this while we were talking about this stuff, and I think that there's certainly a definite... when I do a lot of my traditional work, or the work that's intended to be traditional, I let myself go a little more in terms of like sort of like stream of consciousness and find the shapes and see what you like or don't like. And I think that having this conversation really is pushing and inspiring that. And it doesn't have to all have this meaning. There are pieces for that, and there are pieces where you should, I think, as an artist, allow yourself to just push in terms of like just draw or just paint or just push pixels, right? But I think that in that context, if I
right, it's kind of difficult.
Because one day I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, my art has to be the most profound thing. And the next day I'll wake up and I'm like, I don't care. I just want to make something with blue or like something with whatever color. And then I talk myself out of it. And I think that that's dangerous.
Oh, really?
Because like, so what? Yeah. it's part of that inspiration thing where like, oh, I'm inspired to do this, and then I'm not inspired to do it, right? So you have to do a random moment, like you were saying. I think like that could be it, you know, and it could be like, oh, I have so many other things that I'm doing and I already started that I shouldn't really, you know, start something else. But I don't know. If this comes out, I might push through with it.
Ah!
Like, I might make something out of it. It might not look anything like this by the end of it, but I feel like it's okay.
You heard it here
doesn't
first.
have
If
to
you want
be.
this piece, Alex will be selling it at Gen Con this year.
No. I have other things I'm working for Gen Con, but yeah.
I think I'm committing to the bug design at this point. I'm like he's going to be a bug vampire thing.
See, yeah, but he looks cute. He doesn't look evil to me.
Well, that's how they get you.
Is that? Oh, okay.
Think of vampires.
Okay.
They're attractive just to lure in their prey.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right, hold on. Let's keep moving.
That's
Let's keep
totally
moving.
cool.
Sam says, I'd maybe give it a try as an inspirational tool, but my heart lies in traditional painting. So even as an inspirational tool, my process and thoughts would always go back to painting.
Yeah, and he's a stubborn one.
Okay, let's see here. Joe Savino, hey Joe, how you doing? Says, ugh, I hated when everyone said not to use references. As long as you don't copy the image, we subconsciously are using things as references anyways. So
Yes.
Joe went to my school with me, and yeah, Joe, do you remember that? That was like a big thing of don't use references if you want to like prove your prowess. It was very weird, and I have to admit, for a while, I genuinely actually wasn't using references. I was building up the bodies every single time, and I would like draw like my skeleton frame first, and then I would like draw the skin, and then I would draw the clothes on top, which is so weird because it's so opposite to how I draw now. Like even with this bug vampire, I just went right into drawing the clothing. I mean, obviously we have a reference to work from, but even when I don't have like a clear reference to work on, I'm drawing the clothes right on top. I am not taking the time to build up their muscle anatomy forms underneath because it doesn't really matter. I'll draw like a good stick figure, you know, posing in that because I think that still helps with proportions, absolutely. And then maybe if they're doing like a very weird dynamic pose where you have to play with like foreshortening or something, that's a different story. But if I'm doing like an orthographic view of a concept piece for a character, you better believe I am just drawing the clothes right on right away.
Yeah, no, I definitely draw really bad to make something really cool first. Like I'll.
Yeah, wait, say that again.
I think I know. The thoughts just kind of jumbled up. I definitely draw really bad first to then turn that into something like cool. So because if I get maybe okay, I'm gonna even up and say maybe it's because I'm not as good at building things from scratch, if you would, right?
You don't think you are?
I mean, I think it would take me longer than some people for sure. Yeah. But I'm like mid-journey, kind of like loading and then loading. You think it looks like something and then it changes. And then it changes. But yeah, so I think like that's part of it. But I think that I allow myself to just try to get the pose, just try to get the idea. Don't get caught up on like drawing a good hand, a good face, a good eye, whatever. It just looks super flat and super like there's some things in school teachers tell you, and I think they're the most valuable things that you could learn possibly at school that stick with you, because not everything does, right?
Yeah.
But a teacher told me once, and actually kind of this relates to the whole reference thing, and they were like, oh, in your mind only has so much room for certain things, so it's going to try to always cheat to the quickest, simplest interpretation of the thing you're thinking of, right? Yep. So a house, a square with a triangle on top, 2 windows and a door. The tree, just a straight up rectangle for the trunk, and then like a circle on top, clouds, like things we did as children. That's how we recognize, like that's how our brain goes through things. Mountains, boop, 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 done. So reference really kind of helps you clear that out. But I think like if you use that and you try to loosen up and then just try to get the idea of what you're trying to achieve first, then you can find a reference for that and then complete your piece, as opposed to looking for reference, because it's definitely a time where you can be looking for reference too early in the process, and therefore you get stuck with that reference, and then your piece suffers because of it, because you didn't work out the flow of it, where you wanted things to go. You got attached to the reference, right?
Alex, I'm telling you right now, that's why I was getting so stuck the last year, is I think I was relying too heavily too early on reference. So what you're saying resonates with me so hard right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I think, you recognize it because you've done it. So, and then you're like, why doesn't this work? And it's like, oh, because you suck. It's okay.
Once I started to accept that I'm terrible, things just got way easier.
Yeah, because you didn't care. This happens in sports too. I hate to bring up a sports metaphor. I think you have to clear up
what's sports.
Okay, cool. But okay, now let's not even say it's sports. Let's just talk about activities in general. I think in an activity, and I'm being really hypocritical right now because this is whatever. It's just gonna say it. I think that if you bring up any activity and you let go of your perception of what it should be or how it should be, and you just do the activity for the sake of it, and you have fun while doing it, I think that frees up so much more of this organic thing. It just happens, and then it's definitely more fun, and it comes out easier than if you're trying to put this pressure on yourself that it has to be this way, then it can kind of kill everything out of it. And that's what happens with work a lot of times.
It's funny that you even bring up sports. So I haven't really talked to you about this that much, but I'm on the beach volleyball team, and first week I was so nervous because it's been so long since I got my sports on, and I was a back row hitter or back row bumper. I was libero for all of high school. I didn't even serve in high school because they would just sub me out. So then here I am playing where you have to do full rotation. So I'm front row and serving. And I was so nervous because I set this weird expectation for myself that I wouldn't be good. But what was funny, that week I did decent. But then the next week, I literally came just to have fun. I was like, I don't really care if we lose or win. I'm just happy to be here with my cousins playing volleyball. I did so well that week. I hit all my serves in. I even spiked, if you believe it or not, and I hit the back line.
But I believe.
Well, because they made me play front row. I don't believe it, but I'm here for it. And you're totally right. When you dissolve that expectation level in whatever you do, I do feel like the flow becomes way easier to tap into. And art's very similar. I think exactly what you're saying. I set this weird level of expectation for myself because of how many years I've been doing cons and Instagram and all this other stuff. And you could say that, there's a little bit of that pressure from expectation of the people that have been following you for a long time. But in the end, it really is just you putting that on yourself. And I think you and I are similar in that way, where we put the weight of you have to be the Gucci of the art world, or the best.
Oh, Jesus.
Or or coach, you know. And I think sometimes when you're putting this weird level of expectation, you're inhibiting what could be a natural flow state. Even with this bug, I don't think I would ever go draw this normally. And because I have such a lack of care for how it turns out, I'm actually really enjoying how it's looking. And it's weird because I'm incorporating a lot of what I like about art, like fashion and crazy fantasy design, and especially with the Amano crazy design. And it just kind of comes out naturally. It just flows out. So for anyone listening, try to take out any expectation you have about what your art should be, because honestly, usually when you're not setting these crazy standards for yourself, that's usually when you enter a flow state, and then you end up creating your best pieces.
Yeah.
Not always the case. Sometimes you're like, I don't care how this drawing turns out, and then it turns out horrible. You're like, it kind of cares. It kind of bothers me.
I don't know. I think you just have to find the right, just the right kind of fun. At some point, I think maybe you're trying to work too hard. I think this is cool because I'm not one to draw necessarily big creatures and stuff either, But then I feel I always love to see this really cool, weird creatures. Final Fantasy bosses are I love them. Just the intricacy and then the mix of stuff, and so many other video games I know. I'm just kind of naming on the top of my head, right? But
well, hell, Elden Ring. Look at those villains. Those are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So then I think that when you now I'm having this conversation with you, and then I'm like allowing myself to draw this, whatever this is, which I don't know yet, but I'm like having a great time. Like I'm really enjoying myself, and it's been a long time. Sometimes you get so caught up like on what you people know what you technically do, and they hire you to do the same things. So you can be easily on this loop of, okay, this is how I draw hair, so just make this character with the hair the way you draw hair, the colors that you usually
gravitate towards.
Yeah, and that's a tricky thing, for anybody, I think, especially the thing I struggle with in industry is that sometimes you kind of get put in this box, and you're the guy who does this thing, or the gal, or you're the person who does this thing, and so that's what they want from you. If you stray at all, if you kind of make any difference, I'm thinking I'm going to be playful with this and make this way, then they don't want that. They kind of want you to go back. They just want you as a hand, and that's what sometimes I struggle with.
I mean, that's very fair. I think feeling used for like a aesthetic that they're looking for, rather than like you speaking your, I don't want to say your opinion, but like putting on paper how you're feeling and like the direction you want the flow to go into. Yeah, it feels restrictive. And the more you restrict yourself, I do think the weaker the piece becomes. And then as you allow yourself to just really open up and like, I like the contrast here, I like the value, even if it doesn't make sense, I think you should go that direction, because I think that will end up creating a more visual piece, especially if you have like a story behind it and you really want, I feel like we could talk about art back and forth. You know what I just realized just now? You and I are such good talkers when it comes to just like going on and on about art, because we're both just super passionate about this. I should have brought you on long ago. I feel like this is so easy.
I've been here all along.
No, I mean, if you're down, I would definitely like to do this again with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, assuming neither of us dies from this bloody battle, of course.
Oh, come on. You're already dead. I'm just
I don't know. I'm filling this goblet with some bugs now. I'm feeling good. I like this direction.
Good. I feel like this is like, I don't know. I keep thinking Devil May Cry a little bit for like their demon forms, for like Virgil. And like, I'm thinking like just for like not so much this big claw things or whatever I'm doing over here, which I might change, honestly. I don't know if I'm loving it, but yeah.
It's like I like some aspects of it for sure. I think actually no, I'm not going to say my opinion. I'm here to defeat you.
Yeah. You're here to defeat me? Okay, cool.
No, but I like how you're definitely mashing a few influences together. I think it's really interesting of a design.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get too caught up into like what would I do, because that could be trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially with the time limit like we're on, like it is go, go, go.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not even using a brush I usually would use. This is interesting too, because I'm using a brush because I use this brush for sketching and for kind of putting in shapes and flow, and I think it flows better for me. And then I use my main brush that I use for like quote unquote inking or whatever, to make more of the clean up solid drawing. And I kind of wanted to start with this. I mean, this is the way I usually would start drawing. So if I do take this to final in any way, then I would use that as my, to clean up everything. But yeah, not this brush.
Let's see what other questions we got here.
Yes.
Jen says, would this also work as inspiration for a villain, Tim? I know from manga that they are only villains when the ominous lighting appears. I mean, I guess if you want to see like this back circle as like a spotlight coming from behind, that'd be kind of fun. Oh, actually, yeah, like, oh, okay, I think I got my story. So mine is a vampire that's joining this crazy insect masquerade, and then the first time you see him, the spotlight, like, passes right behind him, and it creates a silhouette of him drinking from his goblets.
Cute.
uh, but for real, I've been doing those hour studies every morning, and I just feel so much quicker of, like, an artist and, like, my train of thought on things because I'm not really thinking about how it's laying on the body as much or like being overcritical of does this look like a shoulder pad? It's like let the contrast speak for itself. And I know that I can do my heavy rendering at the very end, but why do the heavy rendering early on? I really have conditioned myself over the years to be such a render heavy artist that I kind of forgot the fun fluidity process of like the early stages. And I think that's been really hampering me the past 8 months specifically. And it feels good to like, I don't know, loosen up again and be a little more rash, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I mean. I mean, when you reach out to me about doing this, I thought, like, great, I have an excuse to just go, you know, and see what comes out. And I think, like, it's been a long time since I've been able. I keep wanting to do that, you know, but it's been a long time since I've been able to that kind of. It's like yes, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Oh, I forgot to also mention at the beginning of the stream, for those of you who would like to follow Alex, I put his credentials down in the info, and it is his. I think I put the Instagram, his website, and your Twitter. Now that you're becoming more Twitter famous.
That's my new favorite playground.
I mean, for real, though, it is kind of fun. For those of you who don't know, I feel like our art crew has been really exploring Twitter the past few months, and it has become like this fun, kind of like lottery slots game because you never know what piece is going to hit. But if you format in the right way that Twitter seems to be liking, you could have a drawing that gets a crazy amount of retweets, and then you'll gain a lot of following from that. And Alex has had great success, I would say, on a few of them at this point. And we've had a couple friends, and like recently Naomi, for those of you who follow Naomi Van Doren on Twitter and Instagram, she had one that got over 100,000 on Twitter recently. It was crazy.
Wild. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's kind of becoming a little bit difficult to navigate those waters, and you know, with the limited amount of time and effort, I feel like okay, yeah, I'll put it out to, you know, the people that are paying attention or seeing or whatever it is. I don't want to blame an algorithm. I don't want to blame a platform, you know, but if it's working on one better than the other, then why, you know, do the same thing, expect a different result? So. Yeah. So, Twitter is fun. I mean, it's cool with my name because you'll find a lot of Diaz, but you won't find dos Diaz. So, like my name, I just use that.
Oh.
Excuse me. Yeah. So, in my website, Instagram, whatever I come up, then like, it's just my name, you know. Just my name.
Man, I would have never thought doing like an insect creature would have been this much fun. Like, I'm having a blast with the contrast right now because there's so much texture that you can get away with the placement of it because it doesn't really matter. It's not like we're doing like anatomically correct insect designs. Well, I guess you're kind of going a little more for proportionally insect.
I'm doing something. I don't know. Look at the one. I mean, I kind of like the fact that the one hand is huge and the other one is not.
Yeah, I kind of like it too.
I wanted to kind of have it so that the big claw things were like a resting place, kind of like something that had shorter legs but really long arms, right? So that it kind of carries itself in these long arms, but then it
like it's dragging
legs.
Itself.
Yeah, well, think like if it was like a real body in there in this form, but then this big claws come kind of carry the
Oh.
body, and then it could actually stand on its own feet, and then the claws will kind of move out of the way or something. I don't know. But that's the fun part, is that you don't know and you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm having so much fun with this one.
I think I saw somebody said that my thing was something like a chocobo or something.
Ah! I can see the feet.
Chocobos. Oh yeah, giant. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm into this. Chocobos, giant DMC, and Metal Gear Solid. Okay.
I could see Metal Gear Solid with the face mask like Raiden.
Yeah.
You know what though? When I still look at it, I still see Yoshimitsu like in the best way.
Okay, I'll take that. I feel like Yoshimitsu's outfits have been hit or miss.
It's like after 4 or 5 they become kind of lame, but I love the first 4 games how they were just like wild with experimenting with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Not really a hot take.
3 is my favorite, honestly.
Yo, yeah, 3 is my 3 is my favorite for sure. Not really a hot take, but I have an opinion on. I miss when games used to give variations to their characters that were like fun and unique, and they would explore the character either through each game as they got older, or they would like give a new skin essentially to the same character's name. So like, for example, Tekken, the first 4, every iteration, each character would have like a different outfit and a slightly different look to them because they're getting older. And I love that. I was like too into the lore of Tekken as a kid, like way too into it. But then the 5th one came out and they were all wearing the same outfits essentially that they used to wear except for Yoshi. And it was really frustrating. I was like, wait, no, they already did this. And then, from 6 and 7, they basically took whatever was the most popular outfit from the previous iterations and just regurgitated it. I'm like, you're taking all the fun for me out of this. And it's not just Tekken, though. Look at SSX. Tricky in 3, beautiful. And then the new one in 2012, terrible. Twisted Metal. I loved the Twisted Metal games growing up, and I thought Black was like the best iteration. But it was one of those games where, like Sweet Tooth the Clown, the main character, it would be like a different person each game, and it would be like a different interpretation. And then they do the new Twisted Metal, and it just felt like they were taking what was kind of the best iterations from the previous games and then like mashing it together. It just wasn't good. And I'm kind of sick of these games doing it. And like look at Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
Oh my god, don't get me started on Street Fighter right now.
See, I don't even know. Did they do the same thing? I just know that the characters look the same, but I didn't play it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but to me, Street Fighter Third Strike is the best Street Fighter. I feel like Street Fighter 4 had some potential, but they just kind of got all wacky with the 3D characters, and then ever since it's been kind of just, I just don't enjoy it. It just doesn't feel the same to me at all. There was a way to like, I don't know, the 2D animations and all of those drawings had such a amazing flow and weight to them that the 3D just doesn't. 3D just feels like, you know, when you hit somebody with foam, like with like a foam sword or something, and it feels like it looks like the thing, but it doesn't feel like the thing.
So like it didn't have the weight behind
hollow.
it.
Yeah, it feels hollow. There's no contact, and I think games talk a lot about that whole idea of. God of War was one of those games, right? They talked about how there was a weight to the axe and then all Kratos moves and everything, and that was super awesome. But this, to me, the new Street Fighters don't carry that weight. They don't carry that flow. I think it's because of how unrealistically boxy and big they made the characters, right? They feel like Gears of War characters fighting, and then their shoulders shouldn't even move that way because they're so enormously weird proportion that it doesn't do it. And Street Fighter 6 was just announced, and they're showing a bunch of stuff for it, and now they made it into what feels like, have you ever played those racing games like Need for Speed or
I play Gran Turismo or like Burnout?
Yeah,
I play Burnout.
Okay, yeah, Burnout, right? It's like when they have the announcer come in, oh boy, it's going to be a hot day here over at LA, whatever, and we had erasers ready to go, and they're doing this weird thing with Street Fighter 6. It's the same thing. They're having an announcer, and they're talking about it, kind of making it more street, and so I don't know what they're going to make with it, but the character design still falls in that.
I mean, whatever you said, I kind of like the concept of it being more like a street battle again, but yeah, I didn't see the trailer, so I have nothing to go on.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just more mad about just it just feels. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe it just feels young. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this just feels young, and I'm old, and I have to consider that I'm attached to that old thing I grew up with, and that it gave me so much joy. And as things are evolving, but Street Fighter feels more like a FIFA 2018. Like they're gonna come up with Street Fighter every year now, esports type of stuff, NBA 2019, NBA 2020, NBA, and it's just like the same thing with the new players. And I'm like, man.
I mean, it was, I totally get what you mean, because as a Final Fantasy fan, I feel like playing 13 was like this really weird, like realization of, wait, I'm not enjoying this. And then playing 15, I was like, it's kind of there, but there's definitely not that same fun joy that I had playing 10 or 9. And yeah, it kind of sucks when you realize that. But what's great, though, is you still realize that there will be other games that come out. Like Elden Ring, like, rejuvenated me. Even though, like, I hated parts of it for sure, like, I loved it for the most part. And it, like, gave me that sense of playing video game and the wonder and awe of, like, being a kid again and being, like, genuinely excited to get into the world.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Yeah. All the FromSoft games, for the most part, for me, they hit home. I can connect. Mm-hmm. So,
but then there's a difference. Like when I saw the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer back in the day at E3, I remember being at work and like getting teary-eyed. Like it had such an emotional impact. The what?
Good, right?
Yeah, very good. Even though I didn't think Kingdom Hearts 2 was as good as 1, I was just excited to play with the characters again and the worlds that they would. I don't know. I liked the idea of joining back in. But then earlier this year when the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer came out, not only did I feel nothing, which I think would have been better than, I felt just like
hate.
I don't even want to use the word embarrassed. I felt whatever the opposite of creatively inspired is, that's what I felt.
Is it Sora's pants that kind of got you?
I mean, Sora's whole look. No, I wish Sora would bring back more of the cartoony. I admit, I liked the clown shoes. I was one of the people that liked the clown shoes.
Me too. Yeah. I like the exaggeration of it.
Yes.
I like the. It felt like it was a different world where, like, okay, cool, this big thing is like considered normal, and
I don't want all games to look hyper realistic, and Kingdom Hearts for sure was one of those. I did not need to look hyper realistic.
Yeah, there's a place and a time for them, and not all of them are that.
No. And heck, even replaying some of these older Final Fantasy games, I will admit, even though 10's my favorite for sure, 12's aesthetically is so good. Everything is hand-painted. Yeah. Even the characters, you can tell they're not realistic, but it almost feels like you're playing a character that was painted by an artist's hand, and it has such a cool style, and it's fantastical. We need more games like that. I don't want these characters rendered in hyper-realistic lighting with every metal reflecting light perfectly. I liked when people used to paint the textures on the 3D models, because that's how I was taught how to paint textures on, and I don't know if it is my nostalgia bait kicking in right now, but I like when textures were painted on. There was something about it that I enjoyed more, and I hate bloom lighting. And it's like the difference between Wind Waker Remake and Wind Waker Original. I would take the original over the remake every day. I don't want gradient lighting and bloom lighting and rim lights and vignettes on everything. Like, I liked when the art kind of just spoke for itself.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, maybe that's why I don't know. That's so difficult. I think that's what's cool about. Even though I didn't really, I didn't think Breath of the Wild was that hard of a game. I still love.
Neither
I
did
think
I. Neither
aesthetically,
did I.
it's like amazing. Aesthetically, it was amazing, But it was just because my time restrictions, how I can get into a game, what's working for me right now. But
I don't think that was that hot of a take. I would say the hot take on it would be I actually didn't think it was that great visually. I think it was a lot of sky is blue, grass is green. I didn't see a lot of creativity unless if you got into more of like the temple dungeon areas. But for the most, or like there were some fun cities in it, but for the most part, I was like, yeah, this seems pretty standard. I don't know. It didn't seem that like I play Elden Ring, and there'll be times I'm like walking through this water lodged area, and it's like super yellow in the mist, but then there's like a purple essence in the lake water, so it creates this cool balance as you're running through on your horse. I'm like,
yeah,
this feels new and inventive.
yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
But I try to
Um,
not tell a lot of people that I didn't like Breath of the Wild because that's like blasphemy in the art world.
so let me see. Is what are people saying here?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. You can keep
Can
drawing.
you
I'll be.
see?
Don't worry. I don't want you having to stop.
Why
Um,
not? I'm
Jen's.
like, okay.
Oh, that was about the that, and then Jen says, "I already followed Alex. Pretty sure I did it because of the lady in gray."
Oh.
And Casper, get out of here. And he says, "The lady in gray and gold with the line." I really like those pieces of yours, Alex.
The gray and gold stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jen says, if you want some more inspiration for insect aesthetic vampires, the Darkest Dungeon game has an expansion featuring something similar with mosquitoes. Oh, weird.
Whoa. Whoa.
I mean, kind of, literally, I'm not kidding. If they made a Bloody Roar remake, I would love to be a concept artist on that. Like, absolutely love to be it. I don't know if you saw Dave Raposa did something similar for a contest, and I think it was like a Bloody Roar style contest, and he did
Oh, really?
a shark guy. So he did what he looks like, and it was like this surfer, like, he did such a good job on it. I'm like, that would be so fun to do. I would love to do like the newest iteration of Jenny the Bat or Alice the Rabbit. Like gosh, I would absolutely love that. And like thinking of like a mosquito version where it would be like a vampiric character. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I would love to see those designs.
Yeah. Bugs are tricky too. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. I don't want to get, again, caught up on something else.
Cats!
We
Let's
can
see
do
here.
that
Oh,
very
Cat's
easily.
here. Kitty Hawk says, "Pff, you're
Hey,
young,
Cat.
Alex." She
I
reaffirms
am
your
young.
youth.
I am young. I just mean in terms of media.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something we're just going to keep telling ourselves. Moving on, Jen
Yeah.
says, Street Fighter 3 unfortunately was very unpopular and didn't sell well at launch in arcades. It was only thanks to Evo and passionate people talking about it that made it an underrated gem.
Zine. Yeah, I mean, it's like definitely like niche. I know it's like this weird underground thing. It was. It's no longer is, but I think it definitely was that because it was hard. That's why people didn't like this stuff because it was hard.
Oh, I didn't know that,
And
really?
yeah, it's very difficult, and a lot of things that about it that are like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's so true. I think like that's what happens. You have to have people who are passionate about the thing, and then throw it out there, and show people why it's so good, and it carries that kind of level of love and passion from fans. And so retweet my stuff, okay? I really appreciate it.
So at the end of the day, that's the conclusion we're going with.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kat says, I felt numb watching, the new Final Fantasy trailer. The Kingdom Hearts trailer, yes. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I just felt numb. I didn't feel excitement. I didn't feel encouraged to want to play it, especially seeing it in like this real world setting. I was not into it at all. Let's see here. The DC, it says, is there any modern games with an aesthetic or art style that you are drawn to or inspired by? I mean, for sure. Elden Ring is so good. Even though I got super frustrated with it near the end, and I got like actually really frustrated when I was beating it, like to completion, Because the final few bosses, they just throw some ridiculous things at you, which I get is kind of supposed to be the point of these games, is they're supposed to be like difficult to maneuver. But I was just so done with it, like before the final 3 bosses, that I was like, okay, let's go. Come on, let's get to the end. Come on. Like I didn't really care that much anymore. But the rest of the journey aesthetically was so satisfying. Like just I was one of those players that just walked from corner to corner just because I enjoyed walking around in the world so much. So I would say definitely that was a game that really inspired me with aesthetic art style. Man, I guess Grease or Gris was one of those that I thought was really good aesthetically. Oh God, what about you? I'm like trying to think of games that like really stood out to me aesthetically.
Yeah. There's a I think it's called Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like now they have another one coming out, but I loved everything about that. It just, Tim and I were talking a little bit before the stream about, settling on a prompt for Mid-Journey, and we're like, okay, I don't know if we want to do sci-fi. And I think maybe, I don't know, did you think that I was going to be like, oh, sci-fi, this kind of stuff? Or what were your thoughts behind
considering a lot of what you're interested in, like you love, obviously some of the
like
older
Ghost in the
animes. Yeah, Ghost in the Shell. I think a lot of the mech stuff. I would consider mech more like sci-fi. Or like Evangelion.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I love all that stuff. I love Evangelion. I used to love playing Son of the Enders, which is an amazing game, 1, 2, and Ghost in a Shell. I love Blade Runner. I love all that sci-fi stuff, but I suck at drawing robots. It's very difficult for me unless they're more organic, kind of like... Evas are a perfect example of that. They're like a mixture between some part a bug, some part mech, and then some part human, very humanoid like, or even some of the Ender stuff, right? But but other than that, I really don't. I'm inspired. I love the world, but I don't know that I'd be a good creator kind of for that, right? Then I as far as aesthetics for newer games, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, what do I even have right now that I'm, like, playing, that I would want to play? I can't. Super Giant games, right? Hades.
Oh, yeah,
amazing,
Hades is
right?
aesthetically...
Hades is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all this stuff. There's some other Switch games that I'm, like, really trying to get into. Oh, you know what game? I love the Shin Megami Tensei, the Nocturne. Some of those games I think are amazing. Some of the characters design is like so good on that. Better than the Persona stuff. I love Persona 3 and 5. 4 I couldn't finish. But definitely Call of Duty fan all the way. Stay frosty. Yeah, not for me. That's cool. I think, I think that's fine.
It's kind of funny. I don't think you would ever suspect this from me, but I actually played a lot of Call of Duty in high school.
Of course you did. I kind of can see it,
I think I have, like, bro tendencies for sure, but for me, my favorite, like, shooter back in high school was... Did you ever play Rainbow Six Vegas?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you on a lot of the games you were mentioning. I think when games like try to do something more out of the box, it's just interesting by contrast because so much is samey in terms of aesthetics. Because you have AAA games going towards like hyper realism, and then a lot of indie games are creating this very like soft Pixar-y look, which is fine. But then when you see a game like Hades or like Grease, where it's a very unique style. Even if it feels familiar, it's still like different in its own way. And I think we need more of those.
Yeah, I watch all their videos on when they're making the games and what they went through and kind of how they struggle. And I love seeing all that stuff.
Did you watch all the back end ones on YouTube as well?
Yeah. and it's awesome to see them because they're like, we want to make a game. We don't want to. We want to have fun making a game. You know, we want to make what we want to make and not feel like we're catering to one thing or the other. And I mean, that's ultimately a goal that I can definitely sympathize with and totally understand. And so I'm like, yeah, it feels exciting. It feels new, and not new doesn't mean more realistic. And I think that's like a misconception. Better graphics, it means it's new. Better graphics, it means it's better, advanced. And I think that on its own, some games benefit from that. Most games, it stifles creativity because of the limitations or the applications of the game, right?
Yeah. Oh wait, I have a cheat answer because it's not really a game; it's a short. But I think Jabaro on the new Love, Death, Robots. To me, that was visually exciting.
Yeah. No, that thing was insane. And it made me question. I wanted to like it. I don't know how I feel about it still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's very jarring.
Yeah.
It's like the film style is very, like, chaotic. And I know, like, our friend Tyler came over, it was 2 weeks ago, and he, like, hated the look of Jabbar. Like, he said it was like the worst thing. And I was trying to explain to him, like, to me, the chaos and like the energy and the camera constantly like moving with you is supposed to reflect the feelings of the characters within what you're watching. But I get that because of the way that most things are filmed nowadays, everything's like a slow pan or like a still shot. So then to be thrown into this, we're watching this short that's like, it's chaotic and it's moving and it's jiggling and I don't think we're ready for it. And I think that's why maybe I was so fascinated by it, because it like decided not to do, you know, the slow pans and obviously I think the story is sometimes hard to digest as well for people because it is intense as well.
It's abstract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it like once and I was mesmerized by the shooting of it for sure. I felt like you know what? It wasn't even so much the shooting of the scenes, but it was also like, man, the sound on it, the sound effects, like, so just like everything was so. It was. I mean, it just told as much of a story as the visuals did, I think. And then I watched it with Melinda, and I think she was not in the right place to watch that. And she was like, why am I watching this?
Oh, really?
And I was like, okay, yeah. I think she was kind of like, yeah, it was just like, you kind of have to, I think I came in with an expectation already, and I think that she was just not sure what I was asking her to watch, and then she watched it, and she was kind of like, couldn't connect, you know? I don't know how else to say it, and I think that's fair. I think that's what the best kind of art should be. It shouldn't be everyone loves this is amazing. It should be divisive in its own right.
Yeah. I mean, when I first showed Josh, I didn't even think he liked it at all because he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, well.
Josh.
Well, apparently he told me later he did, but my initial reaction to looking at him react to it was like, okay, clearly this was not for him. But I think part of why I also like it so much is because there's no good guy or bad guy. They're very neutral, and you're kind of rooting for neither of them. So, like, it's... And I was watching the director talk about it. He just wanted to depict a tragedy where you don't feel you connect fully to either of them. But if you do, it's because you lean into the way that their relationship with one another worked. And for me, I definitely leaned into the Siren, because feeling like when you fall in love with someone and you're like fascinated by them, but then they literally, it's like they trick you into liking them, and then they basically destroy you, take everything you have, like literally physically stripping you of everything you have, and then like tossing you out like you're literally nothing to them. And then when she was able to get her revenge, and some people could say he was getting his revenge for her killing the army or whatever, but to me, I
True.
definitely saw it as like she's a water spirit. To her, she's protecting the forest or whatever it is. So she's too naive, and to me, she wasn't like this deeper human with a conscience or anything. It was more like she's an animal, and that's how she reacts to things. But anyways,
Yeah.
watching her come out of the water with the blood and realizing that she has been basically stripped down to nothing, and even her voice like hurts. Like there's a part where she's screaming at him to come out, and there's like blood that trails out a little bit, and then she like leans over and like more of it pops out. I rewatched that ending when I watched it. I watched it by myself at like 2 a.m. I watched the ending like 10 times back to back to back to back. Because her screaming, they edited the sound in post where it skips, it reverberates, so it's like, and the way that they do it is so memorable, and it's so, I absolutely loved it. And then to see her use her gift to basically take her revenge, I don't know if this is because it resonated with me so much where when I basically left the person I thought I was in love with, but then it turns out I was just infatuated with them back in the day. I was too young. You know, when you're young, you see things that aren't there. And I like wanted to use my talent, and I like believed in the Beyonce of just be better, and that's how you get your revenge, is just be better. I know, kind of a bad way to look at it now, I guess, because it insinuates that someone has to do worse for you to feel good. But anyways, it worked. I felt better that I could use my talent to kind of move past it, and that's what I did. And then to see her basically do that to take her revenge, it really resonated. Like it struck such a deep chord with me, especially when you see her screaming. It's like you're putting everything into your skill to take revenge. Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It was like very tragic.
It's very tragic.
Very tragic.
Because no one really wins, you know?
I mean, I like the idea. I think I read something about it being about like a, what's it called? An abusive relationship. Like an relationship where like two people come together and they were good on their own, but maybe not good together.
Yes.
And so no matter, they were still infatuated with each other for whatever reason, but they're still not good for each other. And I kind of like that interpretation too.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, I don't know. I had to watch it a couple times, and I was still. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of like a little bit speechless about it. I accept it for what it is. I think that, you know, sometimes we try to give it so much more meaning and than what it really needs to be. And I think for what it is, visually, it was amazing. The sound of it was just so crazy to me. I agree. When she came out of the water, and then it was like the sounds that were made, it was like, it just made you kind of tear up because you're like, as a victim, so, you know, this brutality that kind of happened to them, and they were coming to after what happened, right? So that was very shocking and very, I think, easy to relate in the simple terms of like, okay, this relationship happened, this traumatized, this traumatic thing happened, and
no, I get you. I feel that. You know, it's interpretable. And going back to like why I even like Midjourney, it's because it's so vague, it's interpretable, and everyone can have a different experience viewing the same thing, which is something that I forgot how much I genuinely enjoyed. And I think even us doing this prompt and seeing how different our results are is kind of a reflection of that. You know, it was funny. Josh in the comments just said, "Can confirm I heard those screams a lot." I just think it's so good. The audio mixing is so good. And then, let's see. Felix is asking that we have 20 minutes left. Correct. So as of right now, it's 18 minutes now.
Pressure.
Pressure. Jen says, one of the things that can be argued also made Elden Ring popular is it is an open world that didn't overwhelm you, but it also felt like a whole game. It didn't have strings of DLC with it. I mean, I wouldn't say it too soon. They definitely will have DLC, but I see what you mean. Sure. That it felt like a full game, 100%. And I do think a lot of, especially bigger games, I don't know why bigger games specifically, but they think having DLC will like help complete it. But I think it's better when DLC adds on to what already feels like an established, completed game. So I agree. I think Elden Ring felt complete. And yes, I will play the DLC when it comes out. But did it need it? No, it didn't need it. I think that's the difference.
People complain it was already a big game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say what area, but once you get to a certain area, you're kind of like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done, because it's kind of rinse, wash, repeat the same thing when you go to every new area. It's like, okay, find the church, find, this, you're just kind of repeating the same action. So at some point it did feel like it overstayed its welcome with how big it was for me personally.
Sure.
Let's see here. Oscar says, oh my god, I didn't even think in those patterns. Oh, for Jabaro. For me, the girl was totally the monster. But that's like another interpretation. Maybe you watch this and you connect with the fact that she literally like murders a bunch of these knights, the Templar knights in the beginning, and the only one that she couldn't kill was the deaf guy. So yeah, if you saw it more as like him taking revenge, then she is definitely the villain of the story. I think that's where it's also really intriguing, because if you view her like she is actively aware that she is doing so much damage, kind of without real reason, then yeah, she's definitely like this horrible creature. But the way I look at it is like, think of mermaids. We love mermaids, but their original story is they drown people that get too close to the water. Or fairies. Mm-hmm. Fairies would literally make a ring, like a fairy mushroom ring, and they would trick people into entering them so that they could dance until they die. Like, fairy tales and mythological creatures, to me, are not supposed to be like happy, cheery Tinkerbells. Even Tinkerbell has a little bit of sass to her. But like, I think a lot of like modern depictions of fantasy characters are just very blah. They are just good for the sake of being good, and they like want to do right. I kind of miss when creatures would act like wild animals, but just have like a little bit more intelligence, like just enough where they could wear clothes or they could like style themselves a bit, but they still had more of those like animal instincts to see like humans as threats, and like you have to take them out. And it's not because you morally are taking them out. It's like an animal, like when a lion sees a antelope, it's just instinctual.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it.
Well, I think... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
No,
that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they're trying to make everything palatable to like saying, oh, it's a fantasy, so it's for children, and so therefore it has to be for children, right? And so it's kind of rare when you see a fantasy that is not for children and done that way. And I think that's why it's really cool to see this too, because it's a return to like what was true of what it is.
Yeah, and maybe I'm wondering too, maybe it is a little bit of nostalgia bait for us, because we grew up with things. I don't know if you necessarily watched them when you were in Uruguay, but like Dark Crystal and Secret of NIMH and Labyrinth and some of these older fantasy movies, that they were kind of dark. And they kind of had like consequences. I mean, hell, even the golden age of Disney. You look at Lion King, Ariel, or Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. It was scary. Like Beauty and the Beast is legit scary as a kid. Like the wolf scene, and then the Beast. Some of his noises that he makes, they're kind of harsh. Or best example, what is it? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion from Rankin and Bass. Those noises that the ice monster creates are terrifying. They are absolutely terrifying, especially as a kid. That would never fly in today's day and age, like ever. Instead, you get like minions.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like dumbing things, It's not, there's not even like a real value to those things. I think that they're just like, oh, this is the funny thing, and you get your fix of funny things, and then you move on, and it's like there's no depth to them. There's no real rhyme or reason other than to be entertaining, And like, I don't know. I love comedy because comedy can be cruel, but that's why it's. I mean, I hate to say it in a way, but that's kind of what makes it funny sometimes, because it can be like the unexpected. You're like, oh, politically correct or whatever. It's not supposed to be said, but then it's like you say, and then you're like, okay, in terms of like speaking objectively, yeah, okay, so that could be kind of funny, but it's not necessarily true or what they're really thinking. You know, it's just like, do you think it's funny if you think about it this way? Anything can be funny, right? But no, I agree. Yeah.
Here, wait, I have a joke for you since you are a fan of humor. Ready?
Oh boy, I think I heard this already.
No, this one's a new one. Well, I could do the.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll do one on you first. See if you like this one first. Okay, did you hear recently that one of our friends got possessed by an owl?
No.
It's someone that we know.
I don't even know how to read. I'm ruining this joke for you, Tim. Oh no! Is that what you're gonna say? Owl no? Is that the joke? No. Okay. You
gotta guess. You gotta guess a name.
I gotta guess. Is it Sean?
No.
Is it? This is silly.
Okay, skip to the part where you say who.
Oh.
All right, better joke. joke. Okay, better joke. Skip. Do you know the person who originally invented the umbrella wanted to call it just Brella, but he hesitated?
Okay. I
was like, okay, I'm signing off.
We just got reduced to 3 minutes. Closing thoughts.
You're right. No, I'm a huge fan of dad jokes. I find they like tickle me so much.
Couldn't tell.
Okay, let me see what the comments are saying. The Bridge says, what is DLC? DLC is downloadable content. So usually games will put this out if it's a successful game to like continue the story or the gameplay in a way that fans will want to revisit that game. Jen says, old version of elves and their animal-like counterparts in myths were horror creatures with holes in the back revealing rotting flesh, wood to represent soulless creatures and no pointed ears. Yeah, I think old mythology, I think because of how kind of nice washed everything's been the last 20 years with fantasy, I think people forget the original like Grimm fairy tales or Hans Christian Andersen. They were not happy. They were very like desolate and kind of terrible.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm reading some of his comments and then
I
clearly say Melinda's saying, don't say who.
Oh my god, Dustin's here.
Oh,
Inkwell, what up? Yeah, that was the best I have to offer in terms of dad joke comedy.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is my actual style of comedy though is very like blunt reaction sass humor. So I feel like I'm really good at throwing back wit to someone if necessary. But I would say if like I had just like a standalone, very safe humor, yeah, dad jokes all the way. But anyways, yes, I do think fantasy should go back to a little of that old school way of looking at it. Barbara says, it's the same with fairy tales. The true European fairy tales are horrifying, and I'm happy to have grown up with them. Disney is fine, but I prefer the grimmer side. I would say most of us do. Well, at least now that we're older. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I would much rather watch something like Jabaro than watch, like, what was one of the new Disney fantasy films?
Encanto?
Oh, yeah, but I liked Encanto.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything new. There was the dragon one. Was Raya? Or is that DreamWorks? No, that's not.
No, that's Disney. But I haven't seen that one.
That's Disney too?
Yeah. Oh, Alex. Oh my god, I showed Josh Paprika over the weekend.
And?
Rewatching it as an adult, not only does it hold up, it is wonderful. It is so good.
It's amazing.
Oh, I'm so excited because Josh has only seen Perfect Blue and now Paprika, so we still got to watch Tokyo Godfather and Millennium Actress.
Oh, we should watch that next time over. Oh, and there's Dreams too. I really want to see those two. I've only seen those two, really.
What's Dreams?
I think it's called Dreams or something like that. Anybody in the chat knows what I'm talking about?
Well, so I don't know if you know this. He died.
Oh,
So the
of
director
course.
was midway through. His new movie was going to be called Dream Machine or Dreaming Machine.
Mm. No, this is not the same.
Okay,
This is
not the
like an older
same.
movie. Yeah, I think it is called Dreams or something like that, but it's not the same thing I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about.
Then yeah, we'll have to watch that.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That's right. When are you even? You're going to be here for.
I don't know.
Well, hey, if you
I
and Melinda want
mean,
to come back for the Halloween party part 2.
but yeah, I gotta take back my pinball, my beer pong trophy.
Oh my God, that's right. You made it to the finals,
Yeah.
and then you lost to college kids.
Well, they kind of had the upper hand.
We need someone from our generation to win that this year. So that's what we need you and Melinda. We not only request that you come back, we need you to come back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you got some really interesting fans here. So this last two
Ah!
comments.
Oh, I got you. Hold on. User, you're going in timeout, and I'm deleting your comments. Oh, never mind. Did it like automatically. That's
Got
great.
him. Got him.
Alright, so everyone, we have 7 minutes left. So if you want to start putting the finishing touches on your work, and then we'll go ahead and do a compare and contrast. We'll do a low-key vote between Alex and I to see who won today's battle. And then...
Just you wait. Just you wait. I'll put some color on this, and then it's already better because you don't have color. So, end the story.
You know, the way that I've heard people talk about art, that is fact. That is a 1,000% factual information.
It used to be a thing, right? I feel like it used to be. I don't know if it used to be, but I do feel like people consider inks or pencil drawing something without color.
100%. Yeah, 100%, yes.
Okay, so what's your experience? What's your experience been with that? Like, what has it been like?
So,
how has it been?
Okay, because I maybe have told you this a long time ago, but when I first started doing cons, obviously I was all color, I was all fan art, it was a lot of digital, and it wasn't until I met Alan Williams at Spectrum, and he had an entire pencil booth. And for those of you who don't know him, I'll go follow him. I do think he's like one of the best living graphite artists alive to ever live, actually. And his entire booth was pencil, so I was like, I didn't even know you could do this. So then in the next few cons, I like changed my entire booth to reflect what I really wanted to do, which was pencil art. And the original first 2 years, even though I was making better money than I did with the color and digital, I got way more comments about, when are you going to finish this? When are you going to color it?
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird? Because now I don't get any of that. And I don't know exactly when the stigma went away, but it definitely melted over the years of doing cons. And I don't know if it's because you had more artists, I mean, like myself, like Villarte, like Miles, that primarily were pencil. So I think it like legitimized. There we go. Legitimized pencil drawing in the eyes of, I guess the general public more. I will say that's initially, for those of you who may not know, that's initially why I added gold, because I was so sick of the comments at cons that I added gold as like a way to validate its finality. It's like
completion, right?
Completed work, yeah. And even though the stigma has kind of gone away, my love for gold has only grown over the years. So that's where like this whole branding thing came from. It was literally to try to validate what I was doing as an artist at conventions. It wasn't even like me trying to be cute. So yeah, that was interesting. But yes, I do agree with you. I do think there used to be a thing that if you didn't do color, it wasn't done.
Yeah, and like even then, I mean, even now, I mean, I do feel like it's still like a gallery thing where like an oil painting will forever be like the king of things. And then, if you do inks, you're like, okay, cool, I'll pay you 1/10 of what you do, especially for anything graphite, even less.
Yep.
Right? Than an oil painting for whatever reason. And I wonder if it's an archival issue thing, whether, but I don't know. Do you know how?
I personally kind of understand it. So like, I'm not even super upset at the perception of that. Because even for myself, I do think like oil to me is like this weird, I put it on this weird platform of a standard that even though I don't think my art is worse because I'm doing oil, I do think there's more technical know-how that goes into using oils than it does graphite. And like I said, I'm not trying to like crap on what I do either, because I think obviously every medium is going to have different hurdles that you have to jump over. But I think oils, because of the amount of money that's spent into just buying oils and turpentine and brushes and stuff, and a lot of I mean,
I don't know.
A lot of people
I'm listening.
A lot of people will even stretch their own canvases. So I think you're not only paying for the finished result, I think you're paying for the materials and the process that go behind it. Because admittedly, like with my stuff, I mean, paper and pencil, it's like anyone can buy them if you have like 10, 15 bucks. Like it's really not that expensive. And then all you're really buying is one sheet of paper and then the time and skill that artist put into that paper. Now, obviously, there could be a debate there as well of, well, it should matter the contents of what you create, and that should determine the value of the price as well. Yes, I'm totally on that board. But in terms of, like, people's perception of it, I don't think graphite will ever be on the same level as oil. And that's what I think about it. What do you think about it?
I mean, okay. I've seen some people who can paint their lights out, but they can't draw to save their lives. They just can't, like, the idea of a line. Somebody described to me drawing as kind of like using wire, you know? You're using this wire to describe a shape. And I think, like, not all anime, of course, but I think, like, a lot of animation is amazing because of this, because of shorthand to things, right? It's not like you just draw a nose this way. It's just like you put a line and it's done. It's just you have the shorthand to understand what that is and how it works structurally wise, right? Whereas with oil painting, you have to put the strokes there to define the shape regardless, right? And like, I think that drawing and painting are just different skills. And I think that the artwork should be priced according to the artwork itself. And then maybe, I mean, obviously somebody's going to say, oh, you're totally ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about because you don't know the, gallery. Is Babs here? Is Babs in? I'm like, I want to know, Babs, tell me. Because there's a perception, but a perception doesn't mean it's a reality. And of course, everything is perception, so whatever. But I think that the artwork should be priced according to what the artwork is, not according to what the artwork so much is like made of, in a 2D sense, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, sculpture and all that kind of stuff is just a totally different ball game. But I think that, I don't know, there's definitely like, that's such an old school way of viewing it. And people talk to me about, we talk about this, right? And the idea of like, oh, the master's this, the master's that. And I'm thinking, if the masters were here today, and we're talking masters in like the Renaissance stuff, they will be making NFTs left and right, and they will be doing so much other stuff. And they're like, Mid-Journey, give it to me, I feel like they definitely would be, because they were who they were because they were innovators, right? And I'm not saying that everything new is great or good. I'm saying that I feel like they kind of push those boundaries and limits. Also, don't get me wrong, I'm not calling whatever his name is. What's the guy who sold like $1 million worth of NFTs in the first?
Beeple?
You know what I'm talking about? I'm not saying Beeple's a master. I'm just saying in terms of like the mentality of pushing things forward, right? So I don't know.
Actually, this is perfect timing because our time has officially been up.
All
right, Alex. Oh, come here, guys.
Okay.
All right. Pencils down. Battle's over.
Hands up.
Woo! Okay, so now we gotta post our... Or I guess, no, you can see our work. But for those of you who followed along, if you want to post it in the Discord, I am going to create... Or actually, Josh, if you're listening, because I don't know if I can do this on here. Oh, no, wait, I can do it on here. I'm going to create a poll. Who won the battle? And no biases. I know this is technically my stream, but I want you to have a gut reaction on who you think did
there's
better
no
interpretation.
What?
Okay, I'm adding it. Ask your community. There we go.
The results are in. It's already in. I guess the results of the drawings. Or whatever we're doing, Yeah.
I
Oh
can't even
man,
lie.
official.
Oh no, you gotta wait like 5 minutes. It's gonna take people a while to vote, cast their votes. When I look at the drawing though, I don't know how you felt about yours. I had so much fun with the process of it because as soon as I landed on the silhouette, it just became rendering within those shapes. And to me, that's like one of my favorite parts of doing art. So I feel like I kind of found something pretty early on in the process to work with. What did you feel about the process there?
Man, I think I stopped looking at the piece after a certain time, and I just kind of stopped looking at the reference, and I went off of my own,
Mm-hmm.
completely just kind of what I wanted to make with this. I don't know. What was the question again? I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, wait, because I could go different ways with this. But yeah, what are you asking me? You're asking me how I felt about the process?
Yeah, I guess. You know what? Let's do, since we're waiting for people to submit theirs as well, we'll do like a what you felt worked in your piece, what you felt didn't work. And here, I'll go first so you can kind of work off of what I say. So I felt what worked for me is I think the silhouette in the top half works. I kind of like his pose. I feel like the con though would definitely be this is something I've done before, and I think having like a circle in the background is like my go-to. But I will say the reference also had it, and I liked that like stark contrast between dark value and foreground and a light value kind of highlighting that. I think where my strongest parts are definitely where like I was taking a risk. So like the long antenna coming straight out the back. I like fashion moments that have a strong silhouette to them. So whenever I'm doing costume designing for any character I'm doing now, I always try to think of it if it was silhouette or had a silhouette in black and what that silhouette would read as. So I think having these kind of shapes that just pull off of the body are really fun. I think that's why a lot of characters I have horns or hair that's kind of flowing in like a fantastical way because I think it really adds to the shape of it, and I think it can really make it a fun thing. I think obviously my weak points, it gets lost a little down here. I think I was being too heavy focused on here because I was having so much fun here that I kind of left the rest to suffer. I think it was kind of fun, the idea of like he's drinking this goblet. I know it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but this goblet full of like bugs and like weird earth things, and having like the smoke kind of rise up, and that's the smoke surrounding him. Yeah, to me, I think once we started talking about video games, and once like I thought of Bloody Roar, I like totally went that direction. I'm like, okay, bug vampire, yes, humanoid, let's go. So yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, even I guess I'll come in on yours too because I'm looking at it now and I love the wings, the part of it. Actually, the part that like is less rendered. I mean, obviously the render stuff is great, but I love the sleeves that kind of looks like a wing. I can picture it being like see through and kind of flowy, and the way they kind of come out of different places. I think they're like bug wing. I mean, we were going with the bug theme, right? In a way. So it's really cool, and it kind of picks up on that yellow wing that's all the way to the back on the image we're working on.
Yeah, I kind of took that wing and like re-shifted it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely love the process. It's definitely something that I want to do more of. I think it's something that sometimes we get to do on our group chats, but not as much because I'm working on something else for work or whatever. But what's working for me, I tell you right away, what's not working for me is like this hand of like, I don't know, it's coming down near, like, it's like, well, I wanted to include more like normal hands as if like this outfit is covering, you don't know what's going on underneath it. That's why it's like, I like the oversized fit of it. And this rope kind of thing. And then I wanted to include more human hands or some kind of humanoid, more aspect to it. And I drew that hand. I played around with a couple other versions of it, but I wasn't really loving them. So, but other than that, I don't know. I think adding those toe, heel things at the end, they're unfinished, but I really like the way that works with the composition overall. It kind of makes it so like balance things out in such a tiny little point. I like the noodly kind of tentacle things coming out of this tails that come out from under the garment as well. I think that it kind of, there's a lot of mystery under this gown.
You know what's
That,
funny is originally I thought you were drawing a mermaid-looking creature. I thought the lines that were going behind the head. I thought the body was like recessing back in space.
mm, I was gonna do one tail per, but I don't really love. I wasn't
Mm.
feeling it, you know. And even this part right here, if I could show, let me see. Oh, yeah. So like this is the tail. So this comes out here, and then it kind of wraps around, and it brings it to the
Oh, okay.
front here. I know it's a bit confusing right now because of well, obviously it's just lines, you know. But if I could do something like this to kind of push it back, yeah, this is like more background than it is foreground.
Oh yeah. Now I see it now. Now that you pointed it out.
Yeah. And so I thought that was kind of like a cool, you know, yeah. Yeah, and of course the color, because the color that's there really elevates this piece, and it's automatically the killing blow, you know, to your simple black and white pencil drawing. I mean,
All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the viewer submissions here.
yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. I'm gonna put this on the side. Okay. Oh, we had a lot.
Awesome.
Okay. I'm gonna make this smaller so that you guys can see it. Oh gosh, how do I even? You know what? I'm gonna have to open these one by one, and I'll put this over here. Okay. So first we had. Actually, I'm gonna move this over here too. So this was Oscar. Said, posted early, I've given up. I'm so jealous of how good you two are at rendering. I tried doing my own thing, but I'm really just lost when it comes to knowing how to render stuff. Not super happy with this, but it was good practice. I will say, Oscar, when I look at yours, like to me, I get a very like realistic Hollow Knight vibe from it. I would play more with shapes of value, like fill in shapes almost with like a solid value. And I think you'll have more fun with the contrast and playing with how you can direct the viewer's eye within your piece through blocks of shape that are just of matte dark value. Because right now I think I'm seeing just a lot of line work and like trying to engage that fun, interesting design with just lines, which you can do. But if you're going to be doing like a drapery rope type thing, like easiest thing that I do is throw in a gradient. Throw in a gradient somewhere because immediately you'll have some fun with leading the eye because your eye naturally wants to follow a gradation. Oh, then Alex, I guess, yeah, you can say any thoughts you have as well on each of these.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I think it definitely kind of follows the example that we have here, but it's different enough. I like the lines going down the row. I think that I love those geometrical kind of textures and patterns on fabric. I mean, you can see I definitely put some of that on my stuff. Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's pretty cool.
Okay, let's go to Felix. Ooh. So with you, Felix, I can definitely tell you had this like side by side, and you were. To me, this is how I think people will be using Midjourney. It's like you're color picking, and you're kind of using the base of what you create in Midjourney as like the reference foundation for what you create. And I kind of like your spin on it. I think these colors are so strong from Midjourney. I always feel like the color palettes from Midjourney are so strong. So I think that will be one thing that we see with digital art that I think will just improve naturally is I think people's color use will get better.
Yeah.
So yeah, good job.
Yeah, no, that looks pretty cool. I could see, I mean, yeah, the influence is definitely there, like straight up. I like the, see, it's kind of cool because obviously we only have so much time to kind of work on this. Mm-hmm. And even though you're borrowing from things, I could tell that the wing that was kind of all the way in the back, you kind of apply those to the back of the character, and then you made a face for it. I think that's still pretty cool. And then the headdress, I don't know what's going on there, but I like the shapes. I think that they're interesting, and that's pretty cool.
Next up, we have Luna. Ooh. Wait, I'm going to make this smaller so it's easier to see. Ooh. Move that over. So they... Oh my gosh, Tim. Grab the right frame. There we go. So Luna says, I'm in a class so I didn't get into it as much as I wanted to, so it's kind of a mess, but the story was formulating as I was drawing, but I ended up thinking of a demonesque royal made of smoke, and in order to maintain her form, she must slay and absorb other demons, but in the process, she ends up taking on aspects of them, like sprouting wings from this winged demon.
Wow.
I mean, I love how conceptually driven it is. Even if you think it's messy, to me, I think it's easier to get really messy and then like define in rather than having it be too defined and then try to like expand from that.
Yeah.
Your face right now,
Are
you're
you
like,
done?
wow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm like mouth breather right now. Yeah, because from what I can see, it looks so sick. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, they're in a class and they're like, they didn't get to really kind of put as much into it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I feel like you were right alongside this battle, like throwing hands back and forth.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool. No, I mean, it looks awesome. I think definitely can see the influence, but making sense out of that madness that it's that red blob there. But I can now, looking at yours and looking at it, I can see what you...
Yeah, right?
Like you gave me this context and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I can see it in there now, but I didn't see it there before. And that's what's so amazing about this app. I could definitely see some stuff that really were straight on takes, right? Like the eye, that looks like an eye. There's that circle, that really hot spot and then the shapes, but it looks more like a rooster to me. Your version reminds me of a little bit of a rooster, but in a cool way, and that's like hard to do, I think. So yeah, good job.
I even feel like the floating head, you could already see that in like a dark fantasy game, just like as its own like minion battle. Yeah, I like it. All right, next up we got Samantha, and they said, I'm not too happy with mine, but then again, I only worked on it for an hour. I bet I could render it better, but it was fun practice. Yeah. I mean, for being an hour, you're pretty quick. I would say a lot of ours are not this quick within 1 hour time frame.
Just by letting loose, right?
I think for you, my only big suggestion would start trying to... I can see you trying to add a gradient on everything, or like it's so slight though, it almost doesn't read as a gradient. I would go bold. In some of the areas that you want to go dark. Like I can see some areas of that robe where it's like alluding to it being darker than it actually is, but I would just go full dark, like on the upper part of his robe here on his shoulders. And then on his wings, I think that's like a great area where you can make some areas darker and then have a gradation out. So like that top of the wing, especially where the little circle is, I would make that darker, especially if we're alluding to the background thing being more of like a moon or a light. I think you can have really fun playing with that contrast. But other than that, yeah, I think for an hour, I'm surprised how fast you guys are moving. And maybe I just felt slower today because we were talking, obviously. Because I'm looking at some of these and I'm like, wow, it looks like you were right there with us,
Sorry, can you hear me? Does it sound funny because my headphones are dying out?
Oh, yeah, no, I can still hear you.
Okay. It might die out completely. Let me know.
I mean, don't worry. We only have 5 left.
Okay, cool. No, I mean, this does look really cool. And yeah, it looks pretty rendered all the way through and through, right? Doesn't it?
I would say so,
okay. Yeah. I like the mask, too. I like I don't know. There's like a lot of personality in this.
I would say, to me, the skull and the horns don't make quite a lot of sense.
Sure.
I think because the horns are like coming through the eye socket, I'm trying to figure out if the horns are supposed to be meant to be like the human's horns or the skull horns, or if it's like an abrasion that like grew out, like a growth that grew out of the skull. So I'd be a little cautious of like when you draw skulls, try to have them somewhat make sense on the fact that they were like a skull of a real thing that died.
I mean, yeah, if you want to go for that, right? Because if you want to make it more stylized that way, then you have a battle, right? Because you have to pick and choose whether you want to go with the stylization of the skull, but then you can make everything else as rendered realistically as you did with the robe and then the character's face. And so you kind of have to go one way or the other for it to make more sense within that, I think. Yeah.
All right, we got Malin, who said, I wasn't able to follow stream, but I have to finish this gift for Saturday, so this is what I was working on. This looks lovely. I think it's watercolor. To me, that's a very difficult medium to work with, so I give you credit on that. And, I mean, thanks for joining in on the stream, even though you weren't doing the prompt necessarily. All right, so then moving forward, we're doing Corinna. Oh, so you definitely took the mid journey and made it more your own, I would say. And they said, no time to render the wings or the smoke. Oh well. I mean, I can still tell they're wings and smoke. You know. I would say I actually like the direction you're going with this of like uncovering a mask and it's just full of smoke and it's like the reveal. I think for me, it's just I would work on the fabric. I would just do some studies of fabric and try. I can see you're very tight with it. Try to get more loose, like do more looser lines and look at references of fabric. Something that helped me is like seeing the mix of hard edge lines and curved soft lines, like pushing right up against each other. And to me, like that's fabric. It's not just one or just the other. So that would be my only critique for you. But and I think even the pose feels very distorted. Like I know if we're going more like stylized, but it does feel very like it would hurt to be in this pose. Where I think if she was like revealing the mask, I think it would be more of like a strong like coming forward rather than like pulling way far back and then having your chest out but then your hips back. So that'd be my only feedback for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like this is what I was talking about earlier about trying to draw something and just trying to capture the pose and the idea and the essence of what you're going for and then going and getting reference. And I think that this is a perfect start for that. And then you have your concept, you have your pose, you have the energy that you wanted to kind of have. And then maybe you can get some reference and use that to elevate this and make it as, just like work out those anatomical kinks that you maybe have in the fabric and whatnot. But I think it's a pretty cool concept. I like the idea and I like the smoke. And the mask is pretty cool too. So for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up we got Ningyo. I always feel like I mispronounce that, but your interpretation is very interesting to me because you went for like you took the initial shapes and designs and like created your own characters based off of it in like a somewhat similar position. And this is great. I think heck, even with all of these that we've seen so far, it's really interesting to me how everyone sees something so different or the way they play with that initial image. Because with yours, you literally took not only the foreground character, but you took that background wing with like the mess and chaos that was happening in the background and made it its own character on its own, playing looks like a banjo with horns. So this is fun. This reminds me of like a late 80s, like Black Cauldron, Disney style. So yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Black Cauldron because that's exactly what I was thinking. It reminds me of like, it was like Dragon something. It was like a video game, but they had like a movie of it too. Dragon Slayer. It's in Stranger Things at one point or whatever. I can't remember, but it's like that video game. Yeah, no, I really like, and I'm a sucker for like using a blue pencil and then putting that. I know you just saw me work digitally, but when I used to draw traditionally and then I would color things digitally, I would draw with the blue pencil and then put the graphite over it. I think it's a really cool look. Yeah, I mean, I like the flow of it too.
Oh, I didn't even see. They had a comment. They said the Yagi in the back is playing the death song and the Usagi in front is doing the job. Oh, that's fun. Oh boy.
That's
okay.
fun.
Ready? So the next one. So we got Barbara, and Barbara, I think. Oops. Let me put it over here. Barbara, I think, is like amazing. Like as a pencil artist. God, and you did this in 2 hours. What we're doing. I just think they're so good. Anyways, they said, I had fun just trying out shapes and using the smokiness of the image. More meditative instead of thinking of an actual story. It was a very nice exercise, and this is where I can see the benefits of using AI art. Yeah, I think, like I know Alex is probably a little hard for you to see on the screen, but the Discord image, I'll send it to you. It's really well rendered. This looks really good.
That tone paper and the white, always. It's like such a good mix.
Here, I'll send you the actual. There we go.
Okay. Okay.
I think you did a really great job with the. I love the way you do your wispy shape designs, and it's really fun to look at as like a viewer aesthetically. I get lost like looking in those shapes because not only do you do these wispy shapes, but then you contrast it with like larger wispy shapes pushed up right against these smaller wispy shapes. And for me, I'm attracted to that visually, so I really like it. And I like obviously the bold centered contrast on like the detail being primarily in the center, and it just kind of fades out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the character too. I think it's like really cool how there's an eye that's like farther back in the head. Mm-hmm. So it makes it feel like the helmet, carapace type of thing, like buggies. I mean, that it kind of captured that. And in the front, it reminds me of like skeleton, and then the thing coming at him reminds me of like a bat ear in the front over the nose bridge. I think that's really cool. And I mean, yeah, I'm a sucker for smoke. I think that those interesting shapes really help guide the eye, right? And then you can get lost in that, as Tim was saying. So I think they did a really good job with those and highlighting just the right spots to kind of accentuate that. So good job, yeah.
And then last but not least, we have, they're telling me how to pronounce her name too. It's Nagi. Okay, Nagi. So they said they only had 10 minutes. So I think it's kind of like a low-key, don't be too harsh on it. But to me, yeah, this looks like you spent about 10 minutes. And said, couldn't participate because I had to go to the gym, but I'll probably finish it later. The idea was inspired by the comment that the arm looked like smoke. I tried going with that idea on the whole character. Yeah, I would continue pulling it through. I think it's hard to even critique this right now or like give feedback because obviously it's still so much in like the early stages.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, pull it away.
I'm just seeing it now. See, it's a little delayed for me, so I'm like, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. And then back to Alex's. Okay, so thank you, Alex. Wait, I didn't even check. The results are in Alex. I guess I won this battle this time.
You won the battle this time?
But I am totally ready for a rematch anytime you want to take me on, so I would definitely do this. I mean, this was very nice. If you ever want to do this again, I am definitely down to have you on because I feel like you and I vibe very much with like being very passionate about the art world and then debating it even when we don't agree with each other.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. I feel like we didn't do as much debating as we're setting up to be, so I feel like we, little clickbaity there, but maybe next time we should. I don't know. Yeah,
right. I had like a first aid kit on the side ready to go, but no, we didn't have to use it today. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining me today. Like I said earlier, if you want to follow him, his credentials are down below the video, especially on his Twitter and Instagram, and then his shop is on his website. So you should definitely go check those out. Thank you again, as always, Alex, and thank you guys for joining in today. It's always really cool to see what you guys come up with as well. And I think this is something I'm definitely going to be doing more of because I think using Midjourney in this way is like the way that gets me really excited and really inspired. So I definitely want to do more of this in the future. And you'll definitely see Alex be making a return comeback at some point.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, and it was a blast. Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
See ya.